think I was nothing, but look at this love we found. So give me your hand like you took mine. No, I don't ever wanna see you cry. Oh, way up, no more tears. Oh, way up, no more tears. Take that chance, we'll be fine. No, I don't ever wanna see you cry. Oh, way up, no more tears. Oh, way up.
I found you in my arms and I got you in my mind. Let's play. I wanna play you like violin, love. That I'm a dreamer, that I'm a little alone. I found you in my arms and I got you in my mind. Let's play. I wanna play you like violin, love. That I'm a dreamer, that I'm a little alone.
Good evening and welcome to the 7th round of the Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 Season 3, being held at the fantastic Stavelo region in Belgium at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Proudley back once again. Good evening, Steve. How are you?
Good evening, Alex. Yeah, I'm very, very well. Thank you very much, mate, and I'm hoping you're all good. Looking forward to some fantastic racing this evening. As you say, we've got 2 hours of Spa ahead, and I know the guys have been putting in some serious amounts of practice. I think they're putting more practice for this round than any other round so far in the season, so it should be good.
Yep, so it's a 2-hour race, 20 minutes of qualifying, and 2 mandatory pit stops. Drivers must take fuel on board, but tyres are optional. And I think, Steve, when you're pushing through corners like Eau Rouge and Radion at around 250 kilometres an hour in 5th gear at the top of the rev range, your tyres are going to get scrubbed a little bit, aren't they?
They certainly are, yes, and the lads are pushing. We have seen some lap times in practice into the 2 minutes 15s from our resident alien Archie Clifford Roberts. Quite a lot of the guys in the 2.16s, but let's not forget also tyre temperatures is going to come into it tonight, as the server settings are 6 p.m. race start time with a 6 a.m. finish, so we're condensing 12 hours into the 2. The server is set to 6 times multiplier.
So let's have a look at the points coming into this. So Archie Clifford Roberts leads the way by quite a considerable margin. Call that effectively 63 points ahead of James Hartnell after our double header last time out. So it is a double header at Belgium. We were at Zolder a couple of weeks ago. Aaron Walker rounds out the top 3 just by a single solitary point behind the Tempesta Racing Ferrari of James Hartnell. Chris Crossman definitely in the fray, as is Steve Haley. Lukas Karkosz now a bit further up the order, as well as Dave Hedges, Regan Mitchell, Dean Riley, Kevin Critchley all round out the top 10. Mark Neuteling's in the Dutch Desire Parker Racing liveried Bentley Continental GT3 is in 11th head of Gavin Utley, another Bentley Continental driver, this time in the Team M Sport livery. Aaron Martin Pilkington, who also features in our GT4 class as well, which gets back to action this coming Wednesday. Rich Smith in the Soul Lexus and Abdoulaye Diop round out the top 15 positions, but it's the editors leading an Audi 1-2 in terms of the team standings. So the editors are ahead of Totsuyama, with Tempesta Racing rounding out the top 3, BD Racing and RPM Racing rounding out the top 5. Barwell Motorsport, Dutch Desire, Bentley Team M Sport, Fordzilla, RS Motorsport, Santalock Racing, Piston Heads, Terra Racing, Afro Samurai Racing. Anyone might remember the Afro Samurai anime character from the early 1990s, and also Apex Racing. Very very well put there, I must say, because obviously you have to turn in and hit the apex when you go through corners. But it looks like qualifying is getting underway. 20 minutes here. But Steve, you said about our resident alien, Archie Clifford Roberts, who leads the standings by 63 points coming into this round. This is going to be a very different test altogether. You know, it's 7.004 kilometers, 4.352 miles, 19 corners, and a heck of a lot of commitment that is needed here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things the lads have been struggling with a little bit when they've been running some practice races is track limits as well. There's been quite a lot of drive-throughs, including Archie. I was watching him last night, and he gained a drive-through in practice race they were having. So yeah, it's going to be track limits, it's going to be tyres, it's going to be the strategy, the temperatures, and obviously the darkness as well. You know, it's different driving in the dark to daylight, obviously. So it takes a bit more concentration, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. A big good evening to everyone that is currently watching and those who are interacting via the relevant channels. So Daniel Parker out with an injury at the moment. He said feels slightly weird watching the GT3 race, to be honest. Good evening to Edward Porter, wishing both myself and Steve. Yes, we are both well, Edward. Thank you very much. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting as we see Chris Bowman in the number 12 Ram Racing Mercedes AMG GT3, currently rounding out the top 9, and Archie Clifford Roberts in qualifying. We're nearing the halfway point of the session so far. He is on a 2 minute 16.410, and that is a whopping 0.837 seconds ahead of the Tempesta Ferrari 168 of James Hartnell. That's an impressive lap, wouldn't you say there, Steve?
Yeah, that's an impressive lap by anybody's standards. As I say, he has been in the 2:15s, which I've never personally seen anyone do that before. I saw actually do it, and it was a 2:15.8, so it wasn't just inside; it was a good couple of tenths in, you know. So it was an impressive lap. So maybe he'll shave a bit more off that lap time with a few more laps to go. Another man that's been on the pace, continuing on from good form from the last GT3 round, is Chris Pinchbeck. He's been running second on the timing sheets for most of this sort of last week of practice, and another one that absolutely loves Spa, and he's been hammering the practice servers, shall we say, really putting the time in. And obviously let's not forget Dave Hedges, Chris Crossman, always comes good on race day. Has to be said, the Porsche maybe doesn't suit this track quite as well as the Audis and the Ferrari do, but Chris will certainly be giving it a good battle. And then there's Lucas Kakos, as you said, in the standings. He's moving up the championship. He's getting to grips with the car, and he's another one to watch.
Well, Edward Porter asks a very, very good question. How many rounds are left? Well, we have 3 more after this. We have Laguna Seca in 2 weeks' time on the 27th of September before the penultimate round at Catalunya in Barcelona on the 11th of October, and then the 25th of October is the season 3 finale being held at Le Castellet, Paul Ricard. Yeah, some very interesting tracks that we'll see people get into. Dave Hedges, you just mentioned, has gone second quickest, so it is an Audi 1-2 at the moment. 0.513 seconds between Archie Clifford Roberts and Dave Hedges. And the Audis, very, very well known around these parts, obviously with Team WRT, headed up by Vincent Voss in both the GT3, with the GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS, and also the DTM with Ferdinand Habsburg, Fabio Scherer, and Harrison Newey, son of famous F1 engineer Adrian Newey from Red Bull Racing. They currently are doing a dual campaign this season, but GTs they're very well known for, and it's always good to see a WRT liveried car running around Spa-Francorchamps, wouldn't you say, Steve?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, he's one of my favourite tracks, and I love watching the the epic sort of 6 hours of Spa, 12 hours of Spa, all the big races. It's absolutely fantastic watch. Whatever the conditions, you get some good racing. But as we were just saying there, Lucas Kakos has moved up into 3rd place. James Hartnell pushed down to 4th. Chris Pinchbeck's just put his first lap in and gone straight into 5th place. And they're all just been separated by a tenth or so here and there. So yeah, the times are starting to get close and they're starting to come down a little bit.
Yeah, we're getting into the last 8.5 minutes of the session. There's Adam Misalovic in the 111 Ferrari 488 GT3, and of course Ferrari celebrated their 1000th Grand Prix at Mugello this afternoon. I don't know the results, please don't tell me anything, because I haven't yet watched the race. I want to see what happens, but Steve's giving me a little bit of an insight, and don't worry Steve, I know I kind of sort of guessed by what you told me that it's going to be an interesting one to watch, but we have 2 hours of Spa-Francorchamps to concentrate on as we go down the hill. And obviously, for people that might know now, he's going through the double left known as Pouhon, where you're pushing at about 180 kilometers an hour through the first part of it, of fourth gear, but then you're accelerating. You make up another 20, 30 kilometers an hour through Pouhon, which was originally known as Double Gauche. And then one of the best corner names I think I've ever heard, because we've seen it a few times on the Formula One timing, haven't we, Steve? No name.
No, yep.
But some great commitment corners, such as Blanchimont. Looks like Adam Isalovic has bailed from that lap, and he will put the Ferrari back into the pits. Looks like Dean Riley in the number 2 is doing a good job. He's running P8, 4 places off of his teammate James Hartnell, as Chris Pinchbeck heads towards the bus stop chicane, having negotiated his way through Blanchimont. So it's first gear, 60 to 65 kilometers an hour through both apexes, and then you power up through the corner, and then you cross the line at around 160 to 170 kilometers an hour in third gear. Now he's going to, let's keep on board with Chris Pinchbeck for a second. So down into first gear, around 70 kilometers an hour. Now this is where the cojones comes in, through Eau Rouge. Definitely the perfect time to say it. Now look, he's going to keep it pinned, 247 kilometers an hour on the apex, going through Eau Rouge, and the very, very slightest of lifts through the Kemmel Straits, and then he gets a bit of a toe.
Has to be said, that looked really smooth from Christie. That there was very little inputs on the wheels. Fantastic.
Yeah, through Les Cornes, and then heading down into the right-hander at Malmedy, and then we'll have the going down the hill, and this is where the momentum carry really changes things, Steve, because you've got a lot of commitment through here. Down the hill, third gear, you're accelerating through the corner, pulling fourth gear as you go through the rev range. Then it's a quick shift down to fourth through first part of Pouhon. And then you've got corners like Stavelot, Campus, Les Fagnes, all really, really good corners. And I can see why it's one of your favourite tracks, because there's so much momentum carry, and it's such a flowing track as well.
Yeah, it is. It's a rewarding track as well, because if you hit those apexes more than any other track, if you keep it bang on that line, you can see the increments of time. You can gain tenths and even half a second through just a couple of corners. It's a very, very rewarding track to even just a hot lap on, let alone race. It's a good track.
So we get into the last 5 minutes of the session, and Archie Clifford Roberts again looks to be picking up a maximum score for pole position, but a 2-hour race is a very, very different encounter, and especially when you have such a circuit like this. It is brutal, it is uncompromising, and if you get it wrong, it bites back hard.
Well, one of the things the guys are going to have to watch for tonight, and I know they have been practicing, but practicing and the real thing's two different things. But when the temperatures start to drop, as I say, the race starts at 6 p.m. on the server time. Halfway point will be effectively equivalent to midnight, so there will be a lot of temperature change. Tyre pressures will change dramatically, brake temperatures will change. The guys are going to have to be dealing with an awful lot of things, and when they go put their fresh tyres on, it'll be a compromise. Because they won't be able to set the tyre pressures for that temperature, because obviously they'll be looking to keep them on for as long as possible, and the temperatures are going to start coming up again. So yeah, the guys have got their hands full tonight, and it's going to be it's probably going to be one of the harder strategy races of the season.
Yep. So effectively, nightfall will be at the circuit, and as I've said, Spa-Francorchamps, we've seen it in the Total 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps in real life, that this circuit, just like the famous Nordschleife, is another true test for any GT driver worth their salt, be it in sim racing or be it in the real life side of things. But here at Simsport Racing, don't forget, if you want to get involved, head to simsport-racing.com. We've still got the charity event coming up. Steve, how are the GT4 entries looking on that? Because I know that last time we spoke about it, GT3s were pretty much full.
Yeah, we were aiming for 30 GT3 cars and 20 GT4. At the moment, we've got approximately 8 or 9 GT4s signed up, so we'd really like to get a minimum of a dozen, if not 15 GT4s. So plenty of room for the GT4s. GT3s, we're sort of saying is near enough full. We've got around about 32, 33 cars signed up on the GT3 class at the moment. So great stuff. We're going to have plenty of cars on the track. We would just like a few more GT4s to make that class a little bit more interesting for the guys that have signed up, if possible.
Yep, the charity event will be taking place on the 3rd of October 2020. It is a 12-hour Nurburgring Grand Prix endurance race, and it will mimic a 24-hour race, effectively. So 3rd of October, Ed Porter is when it is on. It will be broadcasted live. Unfortunately, I have European karting commitments, so you will hear Steve's voice. You might hear a few other familiar voices. Maybe I think Jack Oliphant is one of the guys that will be on the commentary team for that. So you'll be in good hands, ladies and gentlemen. I might be the official voice of Simsport Racing, but even I have limits on what I can and can't do. Isn't that right, Steve?
Absolutely, buddy. And it has to be said, you touched on it earlier. You've made a sterling effort today. You've been away commentating all day, and he's managed to get back in time to fulfill his commitments with us tonight, which we really appreciate. Just on the qualifying, Archie's managed to put another lap in, 10th quicker. He's on a 2:16.3 now. Dave Hedges is still on the 2:16.9, so he's a good half second off, nearly 6/10 off Archie. So Archie's really dominating the qualifying session, it has to be said.
Yeah, 2 minutes 16.341. So the number 96 Audi driver has put in a better effort as Mark Neuterlings goes up into 11th place in the 666 Bentley with just over 60 seconds remaining. Rich Smith now is currently in 9th place, and he is running on a 2 minutes 18.360. I have to give Rich Smith credit where credit is due here, that he's the only one that's decided to go with the Lexus RCF GT3, a car that you don't really see anymore in GT3 anyway, and he's still doing a pretty good job keeping up with the likes of Dean Riley in the Ferrari, Chris Crossman in the Porsche, Chris Pinchbeck, who rounds out the top 6 positions with the number 43 Audi. Good job again from Regan Mitchell in the 69 Mercedes. He's rounding out the top 5. So 4 different brands represented in the top 5 as Rich Smith goes full bore, full throttle up the hill from Eau Rouge through Radion into the Kemmel Straight. That was committed.
Yeah, Rich Smith's a great guy. As we've talked about him a few times, new to Simsport for this season, so that's quite a long time ago now. But he's another guy that you will find him on the server most evenings, putting the laps in, whether it be GT3 or GT4. He really takes it seriously. He puts as much commitment into practicing as he did through Eau Rouge there. He's absolutely on it. Great guy, and he's improving. The times are reflecting that.
Well, looks like the session has been completed. 20 minutes concluded here at Spa-Francorchamps, ahead of the 2-hour Enduro this evening. Gianluca De Luca crosses the line and will finish 15th in terms of his position. Archie Clifford Roberts on his last attempt. He's done it again. 2 minutes 16.266 is his best lap time. That puts him 0.657 seconds ahead of Dave Hedges. So it's an Audi 1-2 on the front row. James Hartnell, Lukasz Karkos, Regan Mitchell, and Chris Pinchbeck look to be rounding out the top 6 as Chris Crossman in 7th. Dean Riley, Rich Smith still trying to do his best to see if he can gain. Well, I mean, it's going to be difficult in the next few corners or so to try and gain half a second in just one lap. But if Rich Smith can do it in the Lexus, that'll be quite an impressive sight to see. As Daniel Parker says, that Lexus is a nice car to drive on ACC. He says it's probably my favourite car. Right, I think that's an aborted lap from Rich Smith, so that will put him 9th ahead of Adam Isolovic. Here's Regan Mitchell in the black Falcon liveried number 69 Mercedes-AMG GT3. And the Mercedes also has tasted success here at Spa-Francorchamps in real life. And, you know, the Audi and the Mercedes seem to be the cars that are a bit more planted around the circuit here. But the Ferraris, if I'm honest here with you, Steve, there's 4 in the top 11. And that's not a bad showing at all.
No, the Ferraris are a good car. They've had the lads have been putting the practice in, as I say, and you know they're a stable car to choose. So yeah, there's some good times from all the guys, and it's good to see a mix of manufacturers in the top 10.
Right, before we get the 2-hour enduro race underway here at Spa-Francorchamps, let's head on a hot lap around the 7.004 kilometre circuit here in Stavelot. Welcome to the iconic Spa-Francorchamps here in the Ardennes forests in Belgium. 7.004 kilometres as we go on board the Audi R8 here at the circuit. Down to first gear at 70 kilometres an hour from 4th down through La Source as we head down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radillon. And the driver of the car will keep it pinned at 5th gear at full revs at around 245 kilometres an hour through both corners, heading onto the Camel Straight up to 6th. Pulling over 255 kilometres an hour as we head to Les Combes. Down onto the brakes we go. Down from 6th at 266 kph down to 3rd at 120 through the right-left complex. Now a quick dip down into Malmedy. 3rd gear, 150 kilometres an hour before we head down the hill up to 4th gear, down quickly from 4th at 210 down to 2nd at 100 through Bruxelles. Now into the left as we carry the momentum down the hill through turn 11, the left-hander, as we head to Pouhon, originally known as Double Gauche. You're accelerating up the gears up to 5th before you get on the brakes quickly, down to 4th, around 175 kph on the apex through the first part of it. Through the second part, you're accelerating, carrying the speed, up now to 5th gear, 230 kph as we head down towards Les Fagnes, which will be a right, then into a left. Next up is the right-hander at Campus, down from 4th gear at 190 to 3rd at 130, 125. We're heading through Stavelot, 4th gear, 190 kilometres an hour as you continue to accelerate through Courbe Paul Frère on the approach to Blanchimont. Continue to accelerate up through to 6th. As you go through Blanchimont at over 255 kilometres an hour before one chicane to go. The bus stop. Down from 6th at 262, down to 1st through the first part of it at 60 kph. Accelerating through, again a dab on the brakes. Accelerate out of the corner. The finish line will be crossed at 3rd gear 165 at 2 minutes 16.6. Well, we're just moments away from getting this 2-hour race underway here at Spa-Francorchamps. But I'm going to go down to the interview booth and have a chat with a couple of drivers, some familiar names that you might recognise. So let's go and have a chat with them. Well, I'd like to welcome both Chris Pinchbeck and Dave Hedges to the interview booth here. Chris, looking very, very good in the number 43 Audi, running in the top 6. I think you qualified 6th at the end of that session, but it's been quite nice you getting behind the wheel of the Audi and giving it a go, and it seems to have come to you a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, I love the Audi, mate. I really do. I'll be honest with you, I thought I'd be a little bit higher in qualifying, but I had a bit of a outrageous outlap, so wasn't too good. But no, it's good being back in the Audi, mate.
So by outrageous outlap, do you mean that you say you had an off, did you? Or did you have a bit of a moment that you didn't really want to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, Chris, all the very best of luck this evening for our 2-hour enduro. You looking forward to it here at Spa? It's always a good one, isn't it?
Oh, it's my favourite. I can't wait. It should be good. If we all get through all really fine, it should be interesting.
I'll just wait until everyone gets through through Les Combes, first of all, after the Camel Straight. Then at least we can be safe for another hour and probably 58.5 minutes or something like that. Dave Hedges, really good qualifying session, but Archie Clifford Roberts again sticks it on pole once more. What is it that you need? What is it that you need to do to try and sort of throw a curveball in his general direction? It's difficult to say, isn't it?
Well, block him all the qualifying, probably.
I think the stewards would have something to say about that, buddy.
Yeah, he's in a different league at the minute. To be fair to him, we're obviously operating a very similar setup, and he's obviously 5 tenths quicker. So difficult, but obviously the race is a different thing. We should have a good strategy. Hopefully, it's obviously going to be quite interesting going through the night, and it's going to get quite cold.
Well, Dave, all the very best of luck this evening. Let's see if you can give Archie a run for his money.
Thanks, Alex.
Spa-Francorchamps, 120 minutes, 2 hours around the fearsome 7.004 kilometre circuit. Steve, I did say to, I think it was to Chris, saying, well, as long as everyone gets through to Les Combes on the first lap, we'll be absolutely fine. That kind of seems to be our mantra these days, doesn't it? As soon as they get through turn 1, we can breathe a big sigh of relief.
Yeah, well, I learnt my lesson very early on with my commentating career with yourself. If you may remember, a couple of tracks I said, yep, they've got through those corners, and then lo and behold, there was contact in the next corner. So yeah, we give it 2 or 3 corners, and then we breathe easy and we start saying how well they've done. But yeah, it's going to be a difficult one, because some of them will be going down into a Rouge 3 wide, and obviously there's only really room for 1 car through there. I have seen 2 cars go side by side, but it doesn't always end very well.
Well, we'll see what happens over the next 2 hours. It is going to be one hell of a show. So strap on in, grab a hold of something, and if you've got a beer and some popcorn, you're in for one hell of a treat. So Archie Clifford Roberts again extends his championship lead. He takes another 5 points from a pole position here at Spa. And if I'm honest with you, we have 3 more rounds to go. We have Laguna Seca in a couple of weeks. We have Catalunya at Barcelona on the 11th of October. And then the 2-hour season finale at Le Castellet at Circuit pour Ricard on the 25th of October. Steve, we've got well over 7 hours worth of racing action, not including qualifying, over tonight and the next 3 rounds. This is a race that could change the dynamic. I have one of those, I have a bit of a feeling in my gut that something could really change something tonight. And at Spa-Francorchamps, driving through the night, that is where, as you said, temperatures are going to drop. Tyre pressures, they're going to have to work with them, not against them. And also, the fact of going from daytime to nighttime as well, even in a virtual reality setting, it is still very, very close to the real thing, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and I personally, when I race, I use VR, and when you go into night in VR, it is real to you. That's it. Your concentration is 110%, because it is so realistic. And like you say, dealing with those tyre pressures, the temperatures, and everything else that's going to be thrown at them, not to mention all the other cars on track and the battling for positions, it's going to be a tough one. But the championship table could change dramatically tonight, because let's not forget, we've got Steve Haley missing, we've got Aaron Walker missing, a couple of the guys there that are usually in the top 6 week in, week out. They're not attending for various reasons this evening. They're on nights off, but there's an opportunity for some of the guys to make up some points.
Well, looks like we are about to get things underway. Archie Clifford Roberts has Lukas Kakos alongside on the front row. Are we about to go green here at Spa? It's a case of wait for it, blink and you'll miss it. So it's getting to be those psychological mind games. Let's see, do we go lights out? Well, the red lights have yet to change to green. So it's down to the system software here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. And now going to head through to La Source. This is where things start to get interesting. We go down the hill. They start to form up into their 2x2 rolling start formation for 120 minutes. That's 2 hours here at Spa-Francorchamps, heading into Eau Rouge. For the first time, lights are green. We are off and racing. A great start by Archie Clifford Roberts, but Lukas Kakos in the Lamborghini trying to keep alongside with him, but slots in behind. A couple of cars going a little bit wide, going through the part of Eau Rouge into Radillon as we head to the Kemmel Straight for the first time. But now, Lukas Kakos in the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan trying to pull alongside Archie Clifford Roberts as they go down the straight. Down into Les Combes for the first time. Great start there by Archie Clifford Roberts, but Lukas Kakos in the Lamborghini, Steve, had an absolute brilliant one of his own.
Yeah, it really gave Archie a run for his money down the straight there, and Archie sort of did well to just to hang on to it, and he didn't fluster him. He just kept his line, kept his position, and Lucas will be foot to the metal now and clinging on, and Dave Hedges in third place in close attendance as well. So a great start from the guys. I think we can say that we've gone round enough corners now. So yeah, well done, boys.
I didn't want to jinx it, but it looks like Regan Mitchell has got past James Hartnell for position. So the 69 Black Falcon Mercedes AMG GT3 now up into fourth place. For those wondering, on the left-hand side of your screen, you've got the white numbers represent Pro, the grey numbers represent Silver, and the red ones represent AM drivers. But also the column to the right-hand side. Now here's a little replay. And in the middle of this, there looks to be Mark Neuterlings there for a second. I think that might have just been a little bit of a, not too sure what happened there, but I'm sure that we'll get any replays as when Mike Yao, our broadcast director from Simply Race, a big thank you to them once again for putting on such a great live stream that we've been enjoying both in ACC Season 3 for GT3 and also Season 2 has its second round next Wednesday evening.
It's all looking a little bit feisty in that top six. They're all obviously very close together. They're separated by a few tenths, and everyone is battling for position while we've got some daylight left. As we just see James Hartnell trying to take Regan back on the inside there, and I think he's going about just to go get that move done. But has he got the pace to get through Eau Rouge now?
Yeah, down the hill they come at around fourth gear, 245 kilometres an hour. That's over 150 miles an hour as Regan Mitchell still manages to keep it through, but runs a little bit wide. That allows Chris Pinchbeck to go towards the inside, and Chris Crossman in the number 3 Porsche 911 GT3R 991-2 as they head down to Les Combes and through. That was a brilliant opportunistic move there by Chris Pinchbeck, whose other half, Gene, is cheering him on like the clappers. And I think, Gene, that definitely did work in Chris's favour. So Chris Pinchbeck now up into 5th position, and through one corner, Regan Mitchell drops 2 places down to 7th, now behind the number 3 Porsche of Chris Crossman. Dean Riley, Rich Smith and Adam Isolovic round out the top 10 so far, but that was a great move from Chris Pinchbeck, wasn't it?
It was absolutely awesome. Chris Crossman as well. Obviously, everybody was in really close attendance of each other, so all it takes is one little lift there, and I think Regan had to lift just going through Eau Rouge. I think he probably got a warning for track limits there as well, because that's the other thing we're all going to have to contend with this evening is, obviously 3 cuts and then it's a penalty, it's a drive-through. Just to mention that Jean is Chris's mum, so he's got the support of his mum.
My apologies there, Jean. My apologies there. As soon as you see the name, you can't. I can't. I'll just go. I'll just say the name from now on. My bad. My apologies. It's been, as I said to Steve, it's been a long day.
You weren't to know, mate. You weren't to know.
Oh well, it is. These things do happen. Mistakes do get made, and I'm more than happy to hold my hands up.
But Chris is putting on a good show tonight, and hopefully, he'll make his mum proud. As Chris Crossman's coming back under pressure now from Regan Mitchell, but Regan's just eased off there and giving him a bit of space. But he's certainly not giving up on that position.
So within the first 5 minutes, we are now into local time of 7:27 p.m. So very soon we will have darkness hit the 7.004 kilometre circuit here in Stavelot at Spa-Francorchamps as they come down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radillon once again. And just the commitment. I mean, I just saw Dave Hedges go up there like a cat jumping up on a set of guttering. It's just literally the car just flew up there.
It's almost like there's no commentary required when they're going through Eau Rouge. It's breathtaking. It really is the commitment, like you say. See Regan's, his dad. Is that going to work? Is he going to get the comeback? No, he's just. Oh,
he tried squeezing Chris going through the first part of Le Con, kept it around the outside, but he still was within track limits. So Regan Mitchell, very, very wise. So he knows that the Porsche is a bit of a sitting duck when you're in a Mercedes AMG GT3 as they go down the hill once again. Great onboard shots here.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be playing on Chris Crossman's mind. Is obviously he's got to really nail it through Eau Rouge and Radillon to get the speed on the Camel Straight to try and make it as hard as he possibly can for Regan, because he knows that Mercedes is going to have the legs on him. But yeah, great defensive driving from Chris as well. He left Regan with just enough room.
Yeah, looks like Mr. Lindsay down in the number 21 Porsche has actually pitted. Now, there are 2 mandatory pit stops required in this race. Fuel is mandatory, but tyres are optional. But with the circuit as abrasive and hard going as Spa-Francorchamps, these drivers will need to monitor the tyre pressures, monitor the degradation over time, because once the tyres get colder, and as the race progresses onwards, if the tyre temperature goes down, the brake temperature goes down. That then affects the handling of the car, braking in a straight line to, say, for instance, going down the Kemmel Straight into Le Con, or into the bus stop chicane, as we see now, as Regan Mitchell being closed in on by Dean Riley in the number 2 Tempesta Ferrari 488 GT3, as Regan Mitchell looking towards the outside of Chris Crossman, trying to possibly get the switch back through into La Source.
Yeah, Chris just went a little bit deep into the chicane, which gave Regan the opportunity to close right up on him and put him where he is now, which is not ideal for Chris now as they go through Eau Rouge. He's going to be under real pressure now, and I expect to see Regan trying to get the slipstream and then draw alongside him.
Well, it looks like we've had a stop-go 30s. Oh, now who was that off the track? Who was that off the track on the right-hand side? And was that a back marker trying to get through it, trying to keep out of the way? As Lindsay has now got a stop-go 30. Yeah, so that might have been Lindsay coming out of the pit lane and had to quickly avoid, but he's got a stop-go 30, I think possibly for speeding in the pits as a result of that, or possibly a track limit infringement. But Regan Mitchell not giving Chris Crossman any opportunity to breathe. And now Dean Riley is coming into this, Steve, and we're only nearly 8 minutes completed.
Yeah, it's all very close and very hectic, and if it's going to be 2 hours of this, then the guys are certainly going to be sweating at the end of it, regardless of what temperature it is on the server. Just on that point though, the server track temperature has dropped a couple of degrees already since the start of this race, so the temperature's going to start coming into play very soon, and like you said earlier, affecting the tyre pressures and the brake temps. So things are going to start changing very soon.
Actually, coming on to that, Steve, you've timed that pretty well. Out of the cars that we actually have out on the circuit at the moment, which I know that some will struggle more than others, but are there some that might be able to mitigate these changes in atmospherics that could help them to move a little bit further forward as Gianluca De Luca gets past Joao Diaz and Reese Wiggin? Now, obviously, I'm not too sure. It looks like they've had an incident as Reese Wiggin off the track. in the the 667 Optimum Motorsport McLaren 720S. I wonder if Reese has actually got damage, and if there was an incident between him and Joao Diaz, I'd very much be interested to find out.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. It's whether they were both going very, very slow, like you say, and it was a parting of the waves to let the other two cars through. So I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean the guys could be picking up damage anywhere as we're seeing. Is that Diaz going into the pits? I believe it was.
Well, that looked like a Porsche to me. No, that's Lindsay serving the stop go 30.
Okay.
But yeah, coming back to what we were saying before I saw that. But all the cars have their, we know that they have their very different BOP regulations on each vehicle. But out of the cars, from your own experience through ACC, are there any particular ones that tend to sort of stand out in the night time, especially at such a difficult circuit like Spa?
In the night time, no. It has to be said no, because it's the setups are so personal that you can alter the setup to put more heat into the tyres. You can make it so it's a more forgiving setup, a more aggressive setup. When I say aggressive, it can be harder on the tyres, gentler on the tyres. Everything's a compromise. The difference would be if we got any rain, and then you would have to say, such as the Lexus is renowned for being pretty good in the wet weather and things like that. That comes into its own. But for general setups on dry conditions, then no, the changing conditions will affect everybody slightly differently, but it's more based on how they've got the car set up rather than what the car is.
Well, it looks like Jean has had a laugh at my expense. She said, "No apologies needed, guys," and then the emojis run wild. Thank you, Jean, for that. Really, that's put a smile on my face, you saying that. So, well, as they say, Steve, if you can't have a laugh at yourself, life ain't worth living.
Absolutely not, mate.
So, looks like Paul Lindsay's actually he's taken one of his mandatory stops anyway, so possibly to fuel up, maybe because obviously with if you have a major off-track excursion, you can actually flat spot these tyres, can't you, Steve, through the dynamics of the game itself. And if you ruin a set of tyres, then you're going to have to go, well, I might as well pit for tyres, maybe I'll pit for fuel as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can indeed driving aggression and it affects the tyres. You will feel vibrations through the wheel. It will make you more likely to lock the brakes up more once you've got a flat spot on those tyres. So yeah, the physics of the game are very, very realistic. So that's something the drivers will have in mind, is about how aggressive they're being, because while we're talking about the pit stops, I personally think, and having spoken to a couple of the drivers, the fastest strategy tonight, any damage to one side, will be pitting on the hour for tyres, and then just doing another pit stop where you take literally a litre of fuel just to do it as quick as you can. That's going to be the fastest strategy this evening. Obviously, if they get damaged, things will change because they may have to pit to repair.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like the Adam Isalovic fan club has started to arrive as Sreko Novakovic goes, go Isalovic, hammer time. Well, nicely put, but unfortunately he's not in a Mercedes, he's in a Ferrari. Sorry,
yeah,
just
talking of Ferraris, we're looking at James Hartnell at just a few moments ago. He's really putting the pressure on Chris Finchbeck. But yeah, like you say, Adam's in the thick of it as well. 3 cars there, all tucked up behind each other. Mark Neutlin's in there as well, another seasoned regular within Simsport. So all having a good race. It's great to see.
Good to see Jeffrey Wolf in the 86 car guy Ferrari. Just off of them as well. There is James Hartnell in the 168. He was our race winner at the hour-long encounter at Monza a few weeks ago, which Archie Clifford Roberts decided not to partake in. We did already talk about those reasons a little while ago. Not tonight, but obviously on the Monza and the post-Monza broadcast as well. So James Hartnell, I think he does have an opportunity. He's shown good pace, he's shown good consistency, and when he puts the lap times together, Steve, he can be one of those drivers that does have that chance. And look at how close he is to Dave Hedges. I mean, Hedges hasn't been able to get away in any sort of respect from the 168 Ferrari.
No, he hasn't. Within that, with them having their own little battle there, that's Lucas is just I won't say he's got away, but there's some daylight between them, just enough for him to probably take a bit of pressure off him and drive the lines he wants to drive. The man out in front, as ever, is Archie, who's really sort of extending that lead at the moment, albeit he's had 15 minutes in, and for regular viewers, they'll know 4 seconds. He's maybe not pulled out as much of a lead as he might have done on some other circuits. So he'll be taking it steady, because obviously Archie will be mindful that it's 2-hour race and it's damage that's could wreck the race tonight. Not so much racing with somebody, but it's very easy to make a mistake even when you're out on your own on this track if you're pushing as hard as these guys do.
Yeah, so James Hartnell closing on Dave Hedges. The gap was around 0.7 of a second. It's now down to just over 0.3 as they go down towards the far part of the circuit, and Lukas Kakos hasn't gotten that far away, if I'm completely honest. I think 1.5 seconds around here, and the Lamborghini, look at it from this perspective. Okay, it's a different, when people say, yeah, Lamborghini, they're all Audis underneath. Well, yeah, but they're very different dynamically. The Lamborghini has a harder, stiffer setup in comparison with, say, an Audi R8 LMS. So, when you have the Italian Bull versus Ingolstadt's finest of the 4 rings battling on circuit, there's going to be 2 different sides to every story.
Yeah, but I think, just going on that gap of 1.5, speaking from my experience when I drive, if I've got a second lead, it doesn't matter if it's 1.2, 1.5, whatever. Once it hits that second, you feel like you've broken the driver behind you. You've got rid of that toe almost, and you do relax a bit more, and you do start driving your own lines. It's very much psychological, which is obviously it's a big part of the race driving character.
Yeah, so we go on board with Jeffrey Wolf in the Car Guy Racing number 86 AM-rated Ferrari 488 GT3. Jeffrey's currently in 13th position behind the 2 battling up ahead. Mark Neuteling's in 11th in the 666 Team Parker liveried Bentley Continental GT, and then Adam Isalovic. We also did have a note from Gavin Utley, the other Bentley Continental GT3 driver. He said, good luck for the race, chaps. Gutted I could not be with you tonight. Well, hopefully we'll have you back at some point. And I've just seen on the timing screens, Bliv AK has just turned up.
Late arrival indeed in the pits. Obviously going to be a few laps down, but hey ho, let's see what he can do. Maybe he's going to put some laps in, and let's not forget the top 20 score points. I'm not quite sure what the stewards will make of that for a late arrival, whether he'll qualify for any points or not, but we shall see.
Well, my biggest question is, Steve, is he entered for the October 3rd charity event?
He is indeed.
That's perfectly a good idea, because at the end of it, what's happening is that he's now going to get nighttime running, and that's perfect practice. They do say that practice makes perfect. So in many respects, I don't think it's such a bad thing. Yeah, just let Bliv AK come and join the party. But then he's dropped off the timing screen on the left-hand side. So I'm not too sure what's happened there, but this is a great battle now, because Regan Mitchell is now behind Chris Crossman, it seems.
Yeah, in very close attention of Chris Crossman. He's pushing still and taking quite a lot of curb there, as we see. But Chris is doing well to hold that Mercedes behind him at the moment.
Yeah, so looks like Joao Diaz and Reese Wiggin have gone into the pits. Diaz is already out. Wiggin looks to also be, I think he'll probably be getting through the latter stage of his first pit stop. As this is a great battle. This is one of the things I love about Simsport Racing, where we call it effectively the place to race. Head to simsport-racing.com for further information, how you can get involved, find out about our social media channels, so YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We do have a Facebook group. We also have a Discord server, so you're more than welcome to join it. I mean, we've got nearly close to the best part of 40 sign-ups for Season 2 GT4, as Adam Isalovic gets a really good run on Mark Neuteling's coming out of the bus stop chicane on the run down to La Source, but the Bentley, with just that sheer grunt, manages to keep ahead of the prancing horse from Maranello. Again, you can just see that as I keep on saying, Steve, and as I keep on enjoying working with you guys here at Simsport Racing, just the cleanliness of some of the battles, this one between Mark and Adam is just absolutely priceless. I mean, you don't get any closer than that.
No, I mean it's credit to all these guys that are racing, because they do all put so much practice in, but they don't go off on their own and practice. They are on our servers, which are live 24/7. They jump on there and they're practicing together. Excuse me. And we even, when we're in practice sessions, they will, as I was trying to make a move on Mark there, but Mark's defended him very well, although the Bentley's looking very loose, it has to be said. But just, they practice together, and instead of just hot lapping, they'll say, come on guys, let's go run some laps. And when they say that, usually 4, 5, 6 of them will just go out and run nose to tail as fast as they can. Just practicing running closely together, because it is a totally different ball game when you're within a couple of tenths of each other. The braking zones, everything's totally different, and it's good that, like I say, respect to the guys, because they all put the practice in, which leads to this great spectacle that we're seeing tonight.
So, into the first 20 minutes, we now have gone 9 o'clock local time, 21 hours, 2100 hours, as night time fast coming in. Headlights now ablaze on both Mark Neuteling's car and Jeffrey Wolf's, and I'm sure that Adam Isalovic's ones will be on very, very shortly too. So the darkness falling here rapidly at Spa-Francorchamps. Archie Clifford Roberts still leads by 4.5 seconds from Lukasz Kakos. Dave Hedges, James Hartnell, Chris Pinchbeck round out the top 5 places. Chris Crossman, Regan Mitchell, Dean Riley, Peter Robar, who's returned again in the number 32 Audi, now rounding out the top 9 positions ahead of Rich Smith in the sole number 76 Lexus RCF GT3. Mark Neuteling's you're right about the 666, that the back end just seems to be a little bit twitchy, especially if Mark puts the power down early. That can actually come back to bite you quite hard here at Spa.
Yeah, that's going to get worse for Mark, I believe, as the temperatures drop. I mean, I'm guessing I may be wrong, and Mark will correct me because he's not a shy guy. But
yeah, we know that.
The way the car's handling, it's looking like he's running very little downforce on that back end. Obviously, to maybe maximise his speed up at the top here and down the Camel Straight. As if the Bentley needs any help with that, but it's going to get. I think it will get worse as it gets colder, and the temperature has dropped now down to 13 degrees on the track. So it is, as it gets darker, it is getting cooler. So things are changing.
But look at the rate of knots that Adam Isalovich actually closed up on Mark Neuteling's, as James Hartnell now trying to close on Dave Hedges, and not too far behind is that's Lindsay in the number 21 Porsche, I believe, who's now circulating in 21st position. Liv AK in the 747 Nissan GTR GT3 showing up in the pits again. I wonder if he's having a bit of a 2 and 8 with someone going, I want to join the server. Yeah, but you were late.
No. I think it's a forced entry list, so he can join once he's in there. He's in. He's all good. And I know he did. He messaged our YouTube channel to say he was just leaving work with. I think it was 20 minutes left to go before we started streaming. So if he can get on the track and do some laps, like you say, it's good practice. We're a friendly community. Yeah. The only provision will be that obviously when he gets the blue flags, he gets out the way. That's the same for everybody. So yeah, but some good racing going on tonight.
Indeed there is, as this battle for third place between James Hartnell in the 168 Ferrari, just behind Dave Hedges. The gap between them last time around was 0.527 seconds between the 88 Audi and the 168 Ferrari. Well, it hasn't really changed on that particular occasion, as darkness starting to fall here at Spa-Francorchamps. Fast approaching the completion as Regan Mitchell looks to have made his first pit stop. I think he might have jumped, decided to go in early and look to play the long game here, which might be the case.
That's an interesting tactic if he has, if he's not been forced into the pits, to do that, he must have the confidence that he's a lot faster than Chris. And
Hartnell going side by side with Hedges heading into Le Com. Will the Ferrari get around the outside? That is going to be nip and tuck, but Hartnell, I think, might have just made it stick. But Hedges comes back at him through the next corner, through Malmedy. Oh, Hartnell runs wide, but still manages to keep it round the outside of Hedges.
That was good. That was some great racing there. I thought David got that back then, but it looked like he just took too much curb and lost a bit of traction, which gave James the upper hand there to get on the power. But yeah, fantastic respect for both drivers there, and Dave's not giving up. I'm sure he's going to come straight back at James given the opportunity.
Yeah, that Audi R8, it might be a little bit more angular than the curvaceous Ferrari, but it can go very, very quickly when pushed to the limits of adhesion. We're fast approaching the conclusion of the first quarter of this 2-hour enduro here at Spa-Francorchamps for the 7th round of the Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione. So just a quick update. Unfortunately, there's been a bit of a lag with regards to the stream. We can only apologise about that. Our broadcast team at Simply Race, our broadcast director, Mike Yao, has had an issue with one of his PCs. But rest assured, there will be a full HD version of this uploaded when he gets the opportunity to do so. So please bear with us. Rhys Wiggin now in the pits on lap number 11. As James Hartnell keeping, and look at the gap he's already pulled off of Dave Hedges. You know, it's half a second between Hedges and Hartnell, with Hedges ahead, and now that is nearly a 1.5 second swing in the favour of the 168 Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing Dave's maybe been trying to hang on to the back of James a little bit too hard and made a little bit of a mistake somewhere. But certainly, James has certainly found his pace now, and maybe his tyres are coming into the sweet spot. He's maybe set the pressures up for the optimum of somewhere in the middle of the range, as it were. Like I said, temperature is now down to around about 12 degrees on the track, so it's still cooling down. James is still pulling away from Dave, as you said, 1.5, nearly 1.6 seconds, I believe, now, roughly.
Oh,
so,
that's a lot when you think about it. As there is Adam Isalovic trying to keep pace with Mark Neutelings. Regan Mitchell has rejoined in around 17th place in the number 69 Mercedes. But yeah, Archie Clifford Roberts now has a 6.246 second lead ahead of Lukas Kakos. James Hartnell rounds out the top three in the 168 Ferrari. Dave Hedges in the 88 Audi, and Chris Pinchbeck doing rather well in the 43 Audi, rounding out the top five. Chris Crossman, Dean Riley, Rich Smith, Peter Hrobar and Mark Neutelings round out the top 10 with Isalovic, Wolf, De Luca, Kelsey, Pixley, Santoro, Mitchell, Bowman, Diaz, Lindsay and Rhys Wiggin. I'm wondering if that McLaren had a substantial amount of damage earlier on, or whether he's had a secondary incident post that off-track excursion.
Yeah, it's looking like it. It's obviously he's a few laps down now. It's a shame when drivers have to pull out this early on into a race that's this long, because who knows what's going to happen, with 90 minutes still or just under of racing to go. That's a long way, and anything can happen, so it's always good to keep going if you can. But yeah, maybe Rhys has just had such damage that it's almost beyond repair, or viable repair, shall we say. It was going to take too much time. Rich Smith is was coming under close attention from Peter Hrobar, but he seems to have made a bit of a gap. As you were talking there, I saw the gap was down to less than a tenth at one point, but it's just stretched out now to 8 tenths. So maybe Rich has just had made a mistake, which had allowed Peter to close up on him.
Yeah, well, it looks like as now the sunset definitely well and truly in full effect. Richard Pixley in the number 7 Emil Fay Jaguar Racing XKR GT3 rounds out the top 16 positions as we go on board. And this is what I like, proper old school Jaguar beefiness. But obviously, it's a car that doesn't, that stayed in GT3 for a number of years before Emil Fay jumped to the Lexus in GT3 competition. But just to see a bit of a bit of British pomp and circumstance in GT3 here in Assetto Corsa Competizione is quite refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to see someone running the Jaguar. You know, it's great. Like you say, not many people run the Jaguars, and I think we give them a mention every round because it is good to see them, you know, bringing it to the track and doing battle with it, and you know, finishing somewhere in the mid-table. It has to be said normally. Just worth mentioning, James Hartnell, he's still a man on the move. He's chasing Lucas Kakos for second, and his last lap was 1 second faster than Lucas's, so he certainly is closing the gap down. He's within 2 seconds of Lucas now. So yeah, if he keeps up that sort of pace, a couple of laps, and he's going to be there.
Yeah, well, he's 1.941 seconds behind Lucas at the moment as we fast approach the conclusion of the first quarter of the 2-hour enduro here at beautiful night-lit Spa-Francorchamps in the Stavro region. I've actually visited. Interesting bit of tidbit information for you, Steve, and also for those watching the stream. Apologies again because of the fact it is laggy. We've had another comment about that. We can only apologise, as I explained earlier on, that I headed to Spa-Francorchamps. Well, I did a bit of a road trip in October 2016. Drove a total of around 2,200 kilometres from Manningtree in North Essex, where I live. The first day, I drove down to Dover, got on the ferry to Dunkirk, drove to Evere in southern Brussels. Then, in one day, drove to Zolder, Spa-Francorchamps, the Nurburgring, and then to Meckesheim, where I was going to be holed up for about three or four nights. But at Spa, couldn't get access to the track, obviously. But I ended up at an access road that was just off the bottom of so effectively where you see these buildings here on your right hand side, the access road was to the right, and so I could see the main building through the sort of like the clearing, and I thought, hang on a minute, I'm that close to Eau Rouge and Radion. If I drove another like 200, you know, like quarter of a mile to my left, I might be able to get to it, but of course there were no roads there.
But just might be a little bit of a cheeky question, Alex. But are you not old enough to remember when Spa was public roads?
No, I was not around when Spa was public roads, my friend. No, even though I did turn 43 last Saturday. No, when Spa was public roads, I was probably a twinkle in my mother's eye.
Sorry, mate, I couldn't resist.
Oh, no, it's no problem at all, buddy. No problem at all.
Just James Hartnell and Lucas. Lucas has responded, so I'm wondering if he had an issue on that lap. James's last lap was a 2:18.1 and Lucas's was a 2:18.2, so the gap is very much stable at the moment.
Yeah, so darkness well and truly falling here at Spa-Francorchamps. The headlights and spotlights on the front of the cars ablaze, the brake lights glowing red amidst the darkness that is fast approaching in. And I have to say, Jeffrey Wolf, I mean, he's got one of the brightest liveries out of everybody out on the circuit at the moment. And if Google Maps was able to find its way onto Assetto Corsa Competizione, if you had Google Maps, you could actually see Jeffrey's car from a satellite picture up like goodness knows how many feet in the air.
It almost rivals some of the custom liveries we've got for the GT4 League, it has to be said. Yes.
Adam Isalovic, Regan Mitchell with two of the brightest. But I mean, there was one. What was it? I was just trying to remember. But the funny thing was, going back to GT4, Michael Hafferden and Tim Fulbrook both contacted me, and they said, "Well spotted on the Paddock Hill reference," because it was to do with Paddock Hill Bend at Brands Hatch, on the front and the rear of their GT4 BMWs, which you'll see again this coming Wednesday. But this is a glorious sight, isn't it? An hour and 27 to go. They're all flying through Eau Rouge, headlights ablaze. Not well, and probably sweating buckets as well, like going, cool, that was a bit of a moment there through Eau Rouge. You know, they'll feel the back end step out, because we're now into the first 35 minutes of racing here at Spa, Steve, and the mental and physical exertion, the taxation on the body will now start filtering into the thoughts of the drivers, because they'll go, well, I need to hit every apex. I need to hit every braking zone. I need to power out of the corners correctly. I need to rotate the car. There's so much going on in the drivers' minds whilst they're racing at this particular moment.
Yeah, and you've got to remember, obviously, as well, they're driving in the dark now, so a lot of the reference points have changed. They've disappeared, or they can't see them until they're almost on them, especially when they're following a car closely in front, So, yeah, they're driving from memory at some points, but, yeah, they're really having to be keen. And another thing is, it's very easy to get distracted when it gets to darkness like this. The glint of lights off things, the reflections, catches your eyes. Your dashboard looks obviously a lot brighter, so you're focusing. Sometimes it's easy to focus on that rather than where you're going. Just another distraction. So, yeah, it's very, very difficult. Can't stress that enough, at how difficult it is to drive a race of this sort of length through the night. It's difficult.
Well, a perfect example was just being shown there by our broadcast director, Mike Yao, from Simply Race, through Jeffrey Wolf. You could see that obviously you've got the rear view camera looking backwards at what's going on behind. You've then got all the toggle switches. You've got the LCD dash display just behind the steering wheel. And also, one of the biggest things, you were talking about glint off of certain items there, Steve. You look at the livery on the back of Adam Isalovic's Ferrari, and there is a lot of glare coming up from, like, say, the white and the sort of like the chrome blue accents, because when light hits it, as Jeffrey Wolf gets ever so close to the 111 through the braking zone into La Source, nearly too late on the brakes there for the 86 Ferrari that could have ended up in the back bumper and spinning Adam Isalovic around there. But yeah, that's another thing. It's another thing that can get you distracted. The liveries that are on the cars, if the headlight hits it the wrong way and you're using a VR headset, that could really, really sort of blind your eyesight ever so slightly, probably in a little bit for like a moment, and then that's a distraction moment that you don't really need.
Yeah, that's the distraction moment that causes you to miss that braking marker and run too deep into a corner and lose time. That's all those little things. They all add up to potentially causing you to make mistakes and lose time to your competitors. As we seen Adam running a little bit deep in that corner there. He's obviously, he's not got the reflection of his car. He's got the reflection of the headlights in the mirrors. Let's not forget that. Like you say, he's going to be looking forward, but he's going to be constantly getting the lights in the mirrors distracting him as well. But doing a great job so far, holding position, running a very creditable 11th place, and doing what he needs to do.
So at the moment, with 1 hour 23 minutes, bit of an overcorrection there from Adam Isalovic, and that allows Jeffrey Wolf to close up. Isalovic wide. I will go through some of the running order as long as Adam Isalovic doesn't give himself and me a heart attack at the same time. But, just a couple of moments there, you were talking about, you were spot on with your analysis there, Steve, that the minute that something wasn't going 100%, because now what Adam Isalovic has got to contend with is, as you said, the headlights from Jeffrey Wolf. Looks like they're heading down towards the bus stop chicane, down into first gear, and just up ahead is Mark Neutling. So you've got the glare coming off the tyre barriers on the right-hand side, the white walls on left and right-hand side of the Ferrari. You've got the headlights in the back. So it's all very, very much a case of just crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Right, Rich Smith has pitted on lap number 16 in the Lexus, so he has pitted. Also, Regan Mitchell still hasn't made any inroads from around 17th position when he came out from his first pit stop a bit earlier on.
Yeah, but just for all the guys at home watching the stream, and maybe you're not aware, but if you look at the display on the left-hand side with all the names and the car numbers, there's a little number next to the car number, and most of them say number 2. That is telling you how many pit stops those guys, mandatory pit stops, they have left to do. So you'll see if you go down to our Mitchell in 17th, he's got 1, C. Bowman 1. That means they've all completed 1 pit stop. So that's a good reference point for you when you're looking to see who's where and how they're doing. Obviously look at that, because that'll having a pit stop here. I can't remember how long it takes to go into the pits and out here. It's a very long pit lane, but you'd be looking at a good 30 seconds. I think off the top of my head at least.
Yeah, so Adam Isalovic now being hustled once again by Jeffrey Wolf in the Car Guy 86 Ferrari, and it's nice when you see drivers in the same brand competing against one another as rivals. I mean, it's great to see the Ferraris, but then also you got like say the Aston Martin Vantage V8 GT3 of Gianluca De Luca in the number 135. He's not too far behind Jeffrey Wolf. Well, he's actually closing on him on quite a big rate of knots, because I think Jeffrey Wolf has made a couple of mistakes.
He just got a little bit deep on the brakes and had to pull out of the braking zone, otherwise he would have rear-ended Adam. Great reactions from Jeffrey Wolf to do that, to avoid the collision, but yeah, it's cost him some time, and it's bringing Gianluca back into the battle, as it were.
Yeah, Ranjiv Kalsi, and we've got Santoro now in 14th. Rich Pixley running at the top 15. Regan Mitchell is now in 16th. So, as all, Gakosh and Hartnell now pit. So the first couple of the top 5 have now blinked after 40 minutes. So that now puts Archie Clifford Roberts now 11 seconds ahead of Dave Hedges, as Adam Isalovic flies his way through Eau Rouge and through into Radion, as does Jeffrey Wolf and Gianluca De Luca in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, that puts a different spin on the old tactics. As I was saying earlier, I think the quickest tactic is to pit at 60 minutes and then just go in for a splash and dash. But maybe these guys are thinking, as we were just talking there, the pit lane is so long, it's maybe worth just splitting it into 3 sections of the race and going for 2 sets of tyres as well. Let's see what happens. Obviously, I'm not aware of what the tactics of the lads are. They'll be they all set them up themselves.
Well, Santoro and Pixley have also pitted. So the dynamic of the race changes all the time, as we are just over 19 minutes away from hitting half-time here at Spa-Francorchamps for round 7 of Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Season 3, Round 7 for GT3. And what a place to host it at here for the 7th of 10 rounds here at Spa-Francorchamps. Local time, according to the server, has just gone 11:08 p.m. And still, Jeffrey Wolf and Adam Isalovic battling away. This is bringing Gianluca De Luca and also Ranjiv Kalsi into this battle. So what could be a 2-car battle for 8th position could very quickly be a 4-way scrap over that place.
Yeah, it could be. I'm just looking elsewhere at the timings, and Hartnell is showing as 0.006 behind Lucas Kakos. So obviously that's them two coming out of the pits. They must have come out literally nose to tail, as it were. So it'd be interesting to see how that battle pans out, because those two obviously were effectively 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, so very interesting to see how things will proceed, as Ranjiv Kalsi now is closing on the back bumper of as Jeffrey Wolf has decided to pit with around about 1 hour and 18 minutes still to go. So this is the battle now, as Archie Clifford Roberts pits from the lead. Leader now in the pits, the 96 Audi decides to drop down, as Ranjiv Kalsi trying to thread the eye of the needle in the dark through Eau Rouge and Radion. Oh, that was a brave attempt, Ranjiv. I doff my cap to him.
Absolute respect. He lifted there just to fall back into line. He tried to get alongside far enough to gain the advantage, but when he realised it wasn't on, he absolute respect. He lifted.
Well, a very, very, very good call there. So, for those wondering about the length of the races for the last 3 rounds, in 2 weeks' time at Laguna Seca, it is a 1-hour race. Then we have a 90-minute race at Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona, and on the 25th of October. Well, you know what they say, Steve. Start as you mean to go on. A 2-hour race around Le Castellet at Paul Ricard. Craziness, I think, is the term I'm going to use there.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be good fun, trust me. But yeah, the Laguna Seca race, that's another interesting one. It's only a 60-minute race, but it's flagged. It's lights to flag, should I say, and no pit stop. So that'll be 60 minutes with no mandatory pits. So that'll be a good one to watch.
Yep. So I mean, effectively, that the last 3 rounds will give us 4.5 hours worth of racing action. Obviously, I won't be around for the season finale. Again, it's commitments. You know, I'm so gutted. I'm going to miss the season finale on the 25th of October because I will actually be overseas elsewhere, karting commentary once again. These things do happen. I have to try and mitigate. You know what? We're going to have to work on season 4 for GT3 and work around the calendar again, aren't we?
Well, we will be planning that very soon. So I'll send you the invite to the meeting when we're going to discuss that one. Not a problem at all, mate. Because it's always good to have the voice of Simsport with us.
Indeed, always a pleasure, never a chore, as they say. So we're coming into the next. We're about to hit 1 hour and 15 minutes to go. We're with Lukas Kakos.
I'd just like to bring something in here. Regan Mitchell, who pitted very early on, is in front of James and Lucas, which I'm ashamed to say I missed that earlier when I was talking about them coming up. But yeah, it seems to his undercut seems to have paid off. That he's now effectively in 3rd place behind Archie, 1.7 seconds behind Archie.
Oh, now it gets interesting. Now the plot thickens under the nighttime sky. As Peter Hrobar in the 32 Audi Sport Team Land Audi R8 has also pitted. So this is where it's really... You're right about Regan's undercut. I think if that gets him to within striking distance of Archie in the latter stages of the race, that's it. That's an interesting prospect altogether there.
Talk to these guys at the end of the race just to see what their strategies have been, because I'm wondering, did Regan take tyres? Has he made all that time up because he didn't take tyres, and actually has? But these are the questions we'll never know, or the answers we won't know until we ask the questions at the end.
Yeah, very, very true there. I'm just keeping an eye on the stream itself. Apologies for any further lags. We have had... Well, I'm not too sure what's happened there. I'm sure we did have... I think we're about 1 hour and 15 still to go here at Spa-Francorchamps.
No, mate, they're still racing.
So I think not too sure what just happened there, but according to Steve, you say that they're still racing, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm logged into the server as a spectator, and they're still circulating as they were.
Okay. Well, apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. We're trying to do our best to get back to the racing action as soon as possible. So please bear with us. As Cameron Fife says, evening, Steve.
Good evening, Cameron. Hope you're doing well, buddy. And when are you joining us on track, mate? You in close attention to each other, and Gianluca, obviously, Range, we missed it when we've gone off air, but it looks like Range has got that move done on Gianluca De Luca to get into 7th place at the moment. Archie Clifford Roberts has done one of his pit stops in 9th, and he's 23 seconds behind. Yeah, it just goes to show. I mean, Ranjith was running sort of further down the field, but as the temperatures have dropped and night time's come, he's certainly made some great impression and caught those guys up, and he's passing them relatively easy. It has to be said. That's a couple of positions he's made in 4 or 5 laps. Oh, that looks like Jean-Lucas turned Mark Neutlin's, unfortunately.
Oh, and that was actually through. I think that might have been through Bruxelles there. The right-hand hairpin.
Indeed, it was. Yes. Yeah.
So,
it was.
Or was that No, that was Malmedy. I think that was Malmedy, because that's after the Lecombe chicane, and then you've got Malmedy, which is the first bit when you go down the hill. So, but James Hartnell now trying to close on Regan Mitchell. Now, these two drivers are battling for, I think, at least positions in the top 5. Whether it's 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th is anyone's guess at the moment, but they are battling for top 5 here at Spa. And you can just see how quickly Hartnell is trying to catch up with Regan Mitchell. The gap between them was just under 0.3 of a second, and that Ferrari, I think, has come a bit more alive during the nighttime action here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, well, you sort of saying about where they're battling for Dave Hedges. He's come out of the pits now 5.5 seconds behind James Hartnell. So, yeah, definitely Regan and James are battling for potentially 2nd and 3rd. I see Lucas is down. Although I was just going to say Lucas is down in 17th place, but the green column next to his car number indicates he's done all his pit stops.
Well, that is another interesting strategy call there, I must say, my dear Mr. Proudby. And that's the first one to show up with a green light, a green square, as Gianluca De Luca now pits from P7, but I'm sure the stewards will want to investigate the turnaround job he did on Mark Neutling's just a few corners ago. As we go on board with James Hartnell, trying to close once again. Now, this will put Regan Mitchell and James Hartnell into 8th and 9th after they go past the pits. Through into La Source, because obviously it's a very lengthy pit lane here as well, Steve. So when you enter it, you actually have to go round the corner as if you were going round La Source in order to get into the pits, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, you have to forgive me because I can't remember how long it takes just physically to drive through the pits at Spa, but it is a hell of a long time. And if you're taking tyres and fuel, that takes 30 seconds on its own without the entry or the exit to the pits, so quite easily a minute.
Yep, so, Hartnell powering past, heading into Les Combes on Regan Mitchell. Would he get the move done before the next apex? Oh, he's timed that to absolute perfection. Oh, but nearly gets a bit squirrely coming out of the corner. But Hartnell gets the best of Regan Mitchell. That was a brilliant textbook manoeuvre by James Hartnell through Les Combes and managing to make it stick despite putting the power on, I think, a little bit too early on the exit of Les Combes.
Yeah, he was just in a bit of a rush to get the right foot planted just to make sure he got the move done. But yeah, respect to both drivers there. These guys are playing the long game. They're realising, they've still got another hour to go. So there's no point getting caught up in silly little battles and manoeuvres. If someone's got alongside you and they're on the inside, it's worth living to fight another day, shall we speak. But James is certainly not hanging around. He's putting a bit of a gap on Regan already, which is very impressive considering he's only done about a quarter of a lap on him.
Yeah, I completely agree there, Steve. For those wondering about the Simsport Racing 12-hour Nurburgring charity race on the 3rd of October, it will be live streamed. It will actually take place just after the ADAC Nurburgring 24-hour endurance race, and it's going to start from around midday. It's going to simulate a full 24-hour period with day and night cycles and hopefully some weather to make it that little bit more exciting, both to watch and to take part in. GT4 spots still available. Please head to simsport-racing.com. Click on the top right-hand corner where it says, so if you go onto the main screen itself, you'll see a Nissan GTR GT3 on the main website, and then you'll see 12 hours of Nürburgring. Alongside it, you'll also see all the relevant, so Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Discord. As now we've got a real good battle. This is between Adam Isalovic and Ranjiv Kalsi. The two Ferraris going toe-to-toe through Les Combes down towards Malmedy as Ranjiv Kalsi goes up the inside. Oh, bangs doors with Adam Isalovic.
Have that.
At nearly 1:45 in the morning, on the server, Ranjiv says, Adam, have some of this one. Yeah, what was it? Ever remember Bottom where you'd always have Richie going, do you want some of this? Do you want some? Well, Ranjiv definitely gave some of that to Adam in spades going through Malmedy.
I was just about to say, a lap ago I'd said how good Ranjiv was driving, in my opinion, and he's making absolutely fantastic progress. And Ranjiv is the most mild-mannered character you would ever wish to meet, and he wouldn't have meant to make that contact. Kudos to him that, you know, it was a bit of rubbing. He didn't really, no harm came. He was doing the move and he just forced his way through. And, you know, it's probably turned out to be a good move. I don't think there'll be any issues with that from the stewards. But yeah, great driving from Ranch. A little bit out of character, but well done.
Hey, well, they do say that Rubbings Racing is Chris Crossman and Dean Riley now in the pit lane. Just before the 1 hour to go mark here, as there's Peter Hrobar just behind Santoro in the number 27 Ferrari, who's right on the back bumper of Gianluca De Luca in the Aston Martin. They go down the hill. Great onboard shot here just on the roof cam on the Rinaldi Racing 27 Ferrari. There's a little bit of a dust kick up there. I think that might have been from, well, couldn't really see there. It might have been from Jeffrey Wolf that the dust might have just caught up in the air a little bit too high, but Roberto Santoro trying to close on Gianluca De Luca heading into Les Combes. And this time the Aston Martin keeps ahead, has a little bit of a touch on the right rear wheel on the grass, which kicks up the dust down into the right-hander at Malmedy. And then down the hill they go. This is where they'll go into Bruxelles before the next corner, which will be simply known as Turn 11. How boring is that? You go from Malmedy, Bruxelles, Turn 11.
That's my kind of corner name.
I think that corner's got your name all over it, Steve.
Absolutely, yeah.
So more drivers in the pits. Ranjiv Kalsi, Adam Isalovic, Regan Mitchell. Now on the hour mark is possibly taking his last mandatory pit stop. So whether he's fueled that car a little bit longer and then possibly might decide, if he's on a 3-stopper and he gets towards the sharp end of the field, that's a very, very interesting strategy altogether. But then you've got to look at the likes of Chris Pinchbeck, who still is out there on lap number 26.
I was just going to come to Chris Pinchbeck, because I'm just looking at his last lap time, and it was a 2:20.3, and it's not as fast as the guys have been doing, but he's not far away from what everybody else is doing, and he hasn't pitted at all yet. I mean, Archie's done a 2:18.3, so you know, let's forget about Archie. He's a class of his own. But yeah, I mean, some of the other guys are starting to put quicker laps in, but I don't think Chris has done himself any harm by staying out, but I would expect him to stop very soon. Just on about Regan Mitchell there, I would imagine he just took fuel early, and that's why he did make the big inroads up to Archie, and he's now taking tyres. As I see, Adam Azalovic, unfortunately, he's got a stop go 30, which I can only presume is for speeding in the pit lane, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that's always a shame when they get penalties. It just takes a little bit of edge off the racing.
Well, he's going to have to give himself a slap on the wrist for that one. But in the meantime, Archie Clifford Roberts has got past Mark Neutelings, and the gap between the pair, nearly 1.5 seconds. Okay, we've just gone over the hour mark, so 58 minutes and 54 seconds still to go. Chris Pinchbeck playing the long game in the 43 Audi. Now that is Gianluca De Luca, I think, went wide. And nearly came into the path of Roberto Santoro there. He gets hit from behind by Hrobar in the Audi. I think that was very, if I'm honest with you, from my aspect personally, I think that was a bit, I'm not too sure, because I think it was either one of one and 500 of the other, and Peter Hrobar might have just been unsighted there, but he saw what was going on in front of him when Gianluca De Luca cut across the chicane through Les Combes, and Santoro nearly punted him off through Malmedy, and then along came Hrobar, and I just think maybe had nowhere to go, and Gianluca, I think it was probably an accident of his own making.
Yeah, I mean, I think just in my opinion, the rejoin when he cut was a little bit sketchy, as we saw him rub doors with one car, and then, like you say, Hrobar was maybe unsighted. I think the stewards will certainly look at that incident, and there'll be a decision made on that one, but I don't think it'll be put down as a racing one.
No, definitely not. I don't think that's a racing incident at all. But as we say, that is down to the stewards to decide. Dave Hedges in the number 88.
Just to cut in there, Chris Pinchbeck is now in the pits, so he's making his pit stop with 57 minutes to go. making one of the pit stops. He'll still have to make another one. Regan Mitchell has done all his pit stops. Lucas Kakos has completed all his pit stops, and Jordi Diaz has completed all their pit stops. So there's only 3 of the guys who've done all the pit stops so far.
As Adam Isalovic now is serving his stop-go 30 for speeding in the pits. Whoops.
Yeah,
But he's not the only driver, let's be honest, over the last 6 rounds, Steve, that has fallen foul of that. And that can happen. You know, you've got to, as I said earlier on in the broadcast, if you've got a 2-hour endurance race, you have got an obscene amount of items to keep your eyes on. You know, tyre degradation, tyre pressures, air temperature, fuel in the car. How's your brake bias? How's all the other bits and pieces that you need to have as Gianluca De Luca now pits, and I think that will be the Aston Martin's final stop of the evening as Peter Hrobar in the number 32 Audi, running in P13 as Regan Mitchell in the 69 Mercedes just up ahead. 56 minutes to go, Steve. I think this race could be anybody's.
56 minutes to go and 9 degrees track temperature, so it's still cooling down as you would expect. Server time 1:25 a.m, so potential to still get cooler, but let's see. We might see a few looser cars on the track and a few more wayward cars, but hopefully not. Hopefully the drivers have got the tyre pressures set as they want them, and they're going to bring it home for approximately 6 a.m.
So, still on board with Peter Hrobar in the number 32 Audi, one of the many AM drivers. So, along with him, you've got Dean Riley, Jeffrey Wolf, Richard Pixley, Gianluca De Luca. You've got Lindsay and Bowman also running AM classification. And obviously, as they gain experience through the game, they'll then become a silver, which will be the grey boxes with the white lettering. And then if you're a pro, it is the white boxes with the black numbering as well. So Archie Clifford Roberts now has a 7.6 second lead over Mark Neutlings, who is the only one in the field that has not yet made his first mandatory pit stop yet. So Neutlings, I mean, I'm wondering how much fuel is on board that Bentley as we speak, as now Peter Hrobar pulls into the pits for a pit stop. And there is Mark Neutlings, and here is James Hartnell right on the back bumper of the 666 Bentley, running in the Team Parker Racing colours, normally associated with British GT. And Hartnell, again, you know, he's just been showing how quick he is in that car, and he's got a slower vehicle. He's basically got a British Sherman tank in front of him as they go through into the bus stop chicane, and it looks like, will Neutlings pit? No, not quite yet.
Did you notice how James just drove around the outside?
I know.
Absolutely awesome.
That was crazy. I wonder how much, like I say, I wonder if we could get an onboard of Mark Neutlings at this very moment in time. I want to see how much fuel he's running, as Jeffrey Wolf has now pitted. So him and Hrobar will now have a green box against their names on the timing on the left-hand side of the screen.
Yeah, the Bentley does carry more fuel than the other cars, and it is quite economical as well. So you can go a long way. I haven't tested it myself, but I think it's not unachievable for the Bentley in full race mode on the engine map. So, but I mean, that aside, he's still got to make 2 pit stops. So, you know, the fact that he's got that advantage that he can carry more fuel and it's a bit more economical, it's taken away by the fact he has to make the 2 pit stops. So at some point he's going to have to do them. As we see the field is potentially sort of panning back out a little bit more to where we would expect it to be, with Archie in first, James in second. Mark Neutlings is, like I say, is the fly in the ointment in third. Dave Hedges up to fourth. Chris Crossman fifth. Chris Pinchbeck, after staying out as long as he did, he's dropped back into 6th place ahead of Dean Riley. But Chris is only half a second behind Chris Crossman now, so that could be a good battle to watch. As we see Regan Mitchell still in 11th place, but he has completed all his pit stops, so I don't expect him to finish there. Incidents to one side as we're seeing him now, I think he'll move up the field nicely.
Yeah, he's just about to go up the inside. Oh, little bit of a touch with Roberto Santoro in the 27 Rinaldi Racing Ferrari, as there is Ranjith Kelsey, the other Rinaldi Racing Ferrari in the 47. He currently rounds out the top 9 positions. There's Chris Pinchbeck in the Bio-Circle liveried Belgian Audi Club Team WRT Audi R8 LMS Evo GT3. Trying to chase down Chris Crossman. Gap between them 0.585 seconds. 52 minutes on the clock. 1:49 a.m. Pitch black here at Spa-Francorchamps. And one of the lovely things about this race, Steve, is the fact that the racing has been absolutely unbridled and non-stop through and through.
Yeah, there has been battles to watch.
Neutling's in the pits. Sorry to cut across you then. Mark jumped the gun on us a little bit there. After 1 hour, 8 minutes, and I think it was 25 seconds, the Dutchman finally pitted from what was effectively third place. So Mark Neutling showing that Bentley can go some.
Yeah, obviously, and he's made the tyres last as long as he has, which is credit to him, and he's smooth driving, I'm sure. But yeah, he's, like I said, he's going to have to do those 2 stops, so this will go up to where we would expect him to be in the pack when he pops back out. We'll see exactly where he is. I mean, he was running with Adam Azerlovic, but Adam's had to do a drive-through, as we know. So maybe he'll come back out somewhere near 10th, 11th place, I would imagine.
Yeah, so still battling away as now Crossman comes under crossfire from Chris Pinchbeck. Pinchbeck towards the outside on the Kemmel Straight. The Audi trying to power past the Porsche. Will he make it through before Licum? Not quite.
That was testament to Chris Crossman on the brakes, was that, because Chris Pinchbeck had half a car's length in front as they went into the braking zone, but that Porsche, I think Mr. Crossman stood it on its nose, so to speak, just to stop Chris getting the move done. Fantastic driving.
So drivers that have completed both pit stops with just over 50 minutes remaining. So João Diaz, Gianluca De Luca, Lukas Kakos, Jeffrey Wolf, Peter Hrobar, and Regan Mitchell. So that leaves Bowman, Lindsay, Isalovic, Pixley, Santoro, Calci, Neutelings, Smith, Riley, Pinchbeck, Crossman, Hedges, Hartnell, and your leader after nearly 30 laps in the books here at Spa-Francorchamps, Archie Clifford Roberts.
Yeah, Mark Neutlings has just rejoined after his pit stop in 8th place, so yeah, a little bit better. I said maybe 9th, 10th, 11th, somewhere around there, and he's actually 9th place now as Ranjiv Kelsey, I believe, just managed to pass him. He must have had the run on him, obviously, as Mark had exited the pit lane. So yeah, bang on, and looks like Mark will have a good battle in around about 10th place with Regan Mitchell.
Yeah, but Chris Crossman, I think, realises that, Chris Pinchbeck isn't going to go away too soon, is he? Oh, it's the battle of the Chris's.
Yeah, again, 2 lads that practice a lot together on the service, so they'll know each other's moves, and it's going to be close, very, very close.
So we go on board with Chris Pinchbeck, who gets close up to the back bumper of Crossman in the braking zone for Lasource. So up through to 3rd gear. Now up into 4th. Let's keep on board with Chris Pinchbeck as he will now go through. And this is at night time, a very different proposition. He still steams through at around 245 kilometres an hour through Eau Rouge before a slight lift round 235 to 238 kph. That's well over 150 miles an hour in our layman's terms here in the UK. Through Radillon and then on to the Kemmel Straight. I mean, even at night time, that just looks... And especially on board, Steve, that looks glorious, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing, the realism. I mean, you do finish these races, and when you pull the VR headset off, and sometimes you'll have raced a night race and it's daylight outside, it actually takes you by surprise. It's an awesome experience. It's a fantastic sim, and if anybody really wants to have a go, no matter what your experience is, just look us up at www.simsport-racing.com. Communities there, all the links are there that you need, and we're always welcoming any new members of any experience.
So if you are watching on the Simsport Racing YouTube channel, why not give it a like? Why not hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and whilst you're at it, why not give this race a like? You can also follow us on Instagram. You can also, we've got a Twitch account, and also why not join us in the Simsport Racing group on Facebook, and also join us on the Discord server. We like to welcome along new faces, and we've had quite a few in the last few weeks, especially with GT4, which heads to its second round next Wednesday, which is in just crikey, I can't believe that's like literally 3 nights ago.
It's nearly a full-time job, Alex. Who'd have thought?
Well, it pretty much is a full-time job for me. It is now.
It is now.
But yeah, this is a great enthralling battle. I wonder. My key thought here, Steve, is who's going to jump first? Who's going to blink first? Is it going to be Chris Pinchbeck, or is it going to be Chris Crossman? And these two know each other well, and it will be a case of who decides to blink first. It's difficult to put it between the two of them, isn't it? Really.
It is, because they'll be looking at the times, they'll be looking at the lap times. Chris will be thinking, Mr. Pinchbeck will be thinking, is Crossman holding me up? Could I genuinely go much faster than him? If so, do I need to pit early? But if he pits now, he's going to fall back into other traffic, and who's he going to be battling with there? Is that going to cost him? There's so many variables that only Chris Pinchbeck will know what to do when he does it, and he'll just do it. And the same for Mr. Crossman. I would imagine Mr. Crossman isn't thinking about pitting anytime soon, because he's holding Pinchbeck up, I believe, and he'll be happy doing that, because it's potentially protecting a position for him.
Well, Cameron Fife has just mentioned 4 words. Archie is a god. Steve, what was the words you used earlier? You said, he's a resident alien.
Yeah, he's our resident alien. We all grown to love Archie, know him, and aspire to be as good as him, but it's difficult.
Well, looks like Manel Elias wants to join our Discord server. Well, how do I join it? Head to simsport-racing.com. There is a Discord server. There is a Discord logo on there. Have a click on that, Manel, and let's see if we can welcome you on board with the team here at Simsport Racing. So, 3/4 of an hour to go. 1 hour and 15 in the books here at Spa. Local time 2:31 a.m. And Pinchbeck and Crossman still battling away over 4th position, but they still have yet to make their second and final mandatory pit stop. So Clifford Roberts leads from James Hartnell. So it is the top 2 in the championship standings that are first and second respectively, with Hartnell 13.363 seconds behind the 96 Audi. Dave Hedges, Chris Crossman and Chris Pinchbeck round out the top 5. So that's 3 different brands represented in the top 5 positions. And Manel Elias says, let's go Diaz, by the way. So Joao Diaz down in 18th position as Pinchbeck got up close and personal to the back bumper of the Porsche of Chris Crossman, but managed to just make sure that the brakes were touched just enough so he didn't hit the back end and spin Chris around.
Yeah, he's looking to get that move, isn't he? He's wanting to be as close as he can behind Chris Crossman, going up through Eau Rouge and Radion and onto the Camel Straight to try and get alongside and actually get in front, as we get a great view here now. Let's just see how close Chris does get in the braking zone, see if he can make all that ground up as his cheeky look to the inside, maybe trying to distract Chris, but yeah, he's not on this lap.
So, lights well and truly ablaze on the back of the Porsche, the number 3 Porsche 911 GT3R 991-2 of Chris Crossman in the number 3, with Chris Pinchbeck still trying to hunt him down. And one of the other things that I do love about GT3 racing is the different variants of the brands. We've got Audi, Ferrari, Porsche, Lexus, Mercedes, Bentley, Jaguar, Aston Martin, Lamborghini. It's just absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Just the amount of GT3 heavenliness that we have in front of us.
Spit it out, man. Spit it out. I know what you mean. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. There's so much machinery on offer. There should be a car pretty much to suit everyone's driving style, because that's what it boils down to. They do all drive very differently, obviously with the different engine configurations and handling characteristics of all the cars. And if you've not played ACC, then you need to try it, because the physics are fantastic. It really does bring it to life, let alone the graphics as you're seeing now with the night racing, and when we get the onboard shots, absolutely fantastic. The realism is immense. See Chris closing right up on the back of Mr. Crossman into the chicane, and again he'll be coming down, and I believe the only place Chris Pinchbeck's going to be able to make a move is if he gets up close for the Camel Straight. I think the Porsche is too strong everywhere else out of the corners and in the braking zones. I think he's just going to have to do it on slipstream alone.
Well, when you think about it, there's another place that could be a bit of a dark horse. There'll be a cloud behind a silver lining behind a cloud for Chris Pinchbeck, and it's the run down to Blanchimont. A lot of people would say, well, hang on. Yeah, and now here we go. This is the perfect example. And look, they're literally toying with each other. And then Chris Pinchbeck just launches it. But Crossman's going to get the inside run for Lecombe. But Blanchimont is another full commitment corner. Okay, it's not exactly a straight. It's very reminiscent of the Parabolica at... now there's been a development. Lukasz Kakos has a drive-through penalty. Track limits, Steve?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I was going to say a few minutes ago, it just crossed my mind. We're getting into the last sort of 40 minutes of the race. Quite a few of these drivers, I would wager money, have had at least one or two warnings for track cuts, especially through Eau Rouge. So, as we said earlier, once they get to the limit of 3 track cuts, the next one they will basically get a drive-through like Lucas has. So you might see a few more drivers either getting the drive-through or actually just taking it a little bit easier to try and avoid that drive-through, because the drive-through here will cost you dearly, as we've said many times. The pit lane is a long pit lane.
Well, it looks like someone else is going to have a green square by their race number, and that is the 27 of Roberto Santoro.
And James Hartnell.
Hartnell's pitted. Oh,
yes.
Okay. Critch on YouTube has just said, it's Archie from Mars. You'll have to ask him that.
Yeah, Kev, we need to see you racing again. That's Mr. Critchley. He's about the only man that seems to be able to challenge Archie. So if he is from Mars, maybe you're his neighbour, Kev. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, he might be, Kev might be from Jupiter for all we know. But yeah, I think one of the other places, as I was alluding to before, I spotted Lucas's drive-through, unfortunately, there for the number 13 Lamborghini. If Chris Pinchbeck had a really, really good run going through into Blanchimont, because that's a full commitment corner as well, isn't it? Because you're flat on the throttle, you're going through it at around 250 kph in 6th gear. I mean, that is...
You need to be, if you're going to do it there, you need to be fully alongside and on the inside to force the position, because otherwise it does 2 into 1, definitely doesn't go there. The outside car is going to go wide and potentially he's going to get that track cut, so you need to force it onto the inside. And if you're defending it, obviously you'll always move and cover that line, so he'll do well to get past there. Mr. Crossman knows all the moves. He's a seasoned driver, as is Chris Pinchbeck. So, as I said, I think I said it about 6 or 7 laps ago, it's not going to be easy for Mr. Pinchbeck, and it's obviously, proving to be the case.
Well, if it was the boot on the other foot, I think you'd be saying exactly the same about Chris Crossman, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, again, I said these lads practice together so much. They know each other's moves. They know how each other drives. Standard of driving is awesome, and they're just their track knowledge and their car knowledge. They know what these cars can do, and they know more importantly, they know what each other are capable of. So that's where you get the close racing from.
Yeah, we've had another comment on YouTube, just trying to make out all these usernames and everything. That we've had CJ66600 saying, sorry I couldn't race today. I don't have the SA or the medals, and didn't know the requirements to even get in the session. This week I'm going to grind for it. Well, that's what we like to hear. People wanting to work at it and get into the relevant sessions as well. So
yeah, just on the note there as well for that guy, whoever that is, welcome to Simsport. And if you need help getting your SA rating up and things like that, the guys on the servers will help you. Your SA improves by running closely with other cars, and as I said earlier, there's nothing these guys like more than to say, let's go do some laps and 4 or 5 if you just run around closely together, and that will help you get the SA rating that you need.
Yeah, so it's funny when you got people like saying, Jordan Ruddock, I'm still watching. In big capital letters. I mean, it's always great to see these comments come through. I mean, one of the big things that we've got now here at Simsport Racing, big thank you to Mike Yao and Simply Race for this, is that we have a restream chat. So any comment that is put on YouTube and Twitch will come through to my computer right now. And then Manel Elias says, I want to join then. Well, that's what we want to hear, Manel. Thank you very much for joining us and wanting to get involved here. We're fast approaching the final 30 minutes as Rich Smith now comes in for his second and final mandatory pit stop. As Chris Crossman runs a little bit wide there. Now that Porsche, I think those tyres are starting to jump off the cliff a little bit there, and that's why he's been running wide, because when you think of it from this perspective, in some cases, the rear tyres on these GT3 cars are wider than the ones on the front, but they can be of a thinner profile, as that was a bit of a run wide there by the car up ahead of them. So Chris Crossman will quickly be, that's a back marker just up ahead. I think that's the Jaguar, isn't it, of Richard Pixley?
It is.
Yeah,
it is. I'm just watching that Porsche. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just watching Chris up through the last couple of corners, and he's looking like the rear end is getting a little bit loose on it. I mean, the initial incident where he ran a bit wide was in the braking zone, but then coming on the power there, he was certainly drifting, which cost him time. So I'm just wondering if he's got a tyre pressure issue or a tyre wear issue, but he's certainly he's struggling. He's having to use all his talent to keep Chris behind him now.
Well, let's hope he doesn't do an Alex Wurz and run out of talent in the latter stages. Yeah, I noticed the reason why it was the Jaguar, because I saw the Swiss flag on the end plates of the rear wing. That's how you can tell when that car is coming through, as in the terms of Richard Pixley, because it's got a Swiss flag on the front of the nose, and it's got a Swiss flag on both rear, as now Pixley has pitted. So the top 4 still being led by Archie Clifford Roberts, who's now on lap number 37 with a 16.375 second gap ahead of Dave Hedges. Crossman and Pinchbeck at the moment are battling for what is effectively de facto third on the road. But then you look at Dean Riley. Now, Dean Riley is 17.4 seconds behind this battle. However, the top 5 have yet to take their final mandatory pit stop. And there is Riley as we see him going up the hill with sparks flying from the back of the 488. There's James Hartnell, who rounds out the top 6. So effectively, when all the top 5 have pitted, this is going to put James Hartnell and Regan Mitchell into the into the fight here, because they've done a really good job of mitigating the circumstances. We're now heading towards the final quarter of the race, Steve, and I think that Hartnell and Mitchell, if they get an opportunity, if they can get close enough to Clifford Roberts after he pits, they've got a chance of beating him out on the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you say, it's all going to fall into place once these pit stops are done. And Hartnell and Mitchell are definitely going to be up there fighting for those podium spots. The man to watch, and you mentioned it, is Chris Pinchbeck, because I know Chris. I've raced with Chris for years, and I'll put a quid on it, and I'm a Yorkshireman, so that's a lot of money. I'll put a quid on the fact that he will not pit until there's less than 5 minutes to go.
Right. In response to that, is that new or old money?
It's paper money.
Yeah,
it's a pound note.
I was going to say, it's worth as much as the paper it's printed on, Mr. Proudly.
It's collectible. It's got to have some value. Come on. But no, Chris will. I think Chris will leave it as late as possible to pit, and that will probably be within the last 5 minutes if I know Chris.
Yeah. So Mark Neuselings now finally takes his second and final mandatory pit stop. So the Dutch driver in the number 666 Bentley Continental GT rounds out the top 9 positions as Chris Crossman and Chris Pinchbeck still battling away. Sparks flying from both the rear diffusers of the Audi and the Porsche as they head. Well, it was from the Audi going through the exit of La Source and through into Rouge, and then it was the Porsche going through Radillon as Pinchbeck again closing, but not close enough as Cameron Fife says, let's go Pinchy. Everyone's cheering on the number 43 Audi driver in the, I must admit that BioCircle livery looks absolutely wonderful. Fluorescent green, bit of black, a bit of contrast with the white. No, it makes that Audi look really, really smart, doesn't it?
It does, and it's very intimidating at the front with the endurance lights on as well. It's certainly a sight to behold, and probably not one that you want in your rear view mirrors. Mr. Crossman will be thinking right now, as actually Crossman runs a little bit wide there. He's definitely losing some grip on that rear end of that Porsche. You see how much tighter Chris Pinchbeck was through that corner, and he's gained quite a lot of ground on Mr. Crossman there.
Yeah, very, very true indeed. So we keep on board with Chris Pinchbeck, just coming up to half hour to go. Still several drivers: Chris Bowman, Adam Isalovic, Ranjiv Kalsi, Dean Riley, Archie Clifford Roberts, Dave Hedges, and these two on your screen right now, Chris Crossman and Chris Pinchbeck, yet to serve their second and final mandatory pit stop. The back end of that Porsche looks very, very ropey at points in terms of how it's handling, but it seems like the Audi is able to keep its rear tyres working for longer, as now Pinchbeck still keeping with Crossman. And again, they both have decided not to pit this particular occasion, but Pinchbeck, I think, has got the better opportunity here because he knows that Crossman is starting to struggle. He can see what the Porsche's doing, how it's acting when Crossman's braking in a straight line, trying to rotate the car, put the power down, and try and go out of the corners. I'm not going to say I disagree with you, Alex, but I disagree with you. I think. Well, it's good to disagree. We agree to disagree, but
yeah, I think Pinchy needs to pit because I think if you look at the gap he's got behind him now, sort of Dean Riley, he's got to pit as well. James Hartnell's done his pit stop, so he is where he is. I think if Chris gets in the pits now and goes for the undercut, it'd serve him well. He'd be back. He'd be out in front of Mr. Crossman, I believe, but. Yeah, obviously Chris is the driver, and I've already said I think he'll leave it to the last 5 minutes. But I would, if I was Chris now, I'd be thinking I'm going to pull the pin. I'm going to go for that final pit stop and force Crossman's hand, because I think Crossman is just waiting now to see what Chris does, and he'll just cover off whatever Chris does. Yeah,
I think that's very, very true. But yeah, it's difficult to, as we keep on saying, it's difficult because these two. We keep on saying this, and I'm just going to reiterate this point, that they practice together. They know each other well. They know how the other one thinks. And what they're doing, you know what they're trying to do? So they're trying to throw a spanner at us two commentators, aren't they? Deciding, yeah, I might pit, I might not pit. Might pit, might not pit. Well, at least in this game, you can't do what they do in Formula 1 and do a dummy walk out of the whole crew who then walk back into the pit garage. Joel Diaz has got a drive through. That would also be for track limits. So the track cuts once again coming in. Manel Elias asks, why is the pit lane so big for GT3 in Spa? Well, it's how the circuit is actually used by the GT3 fraternity, because there's one side for Formula 1, the other side, which heads down towards Eau Rouge, is the one that is used for not just GT3, it's GT4, it's Fun Cup Benelux, the 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps, which is held every year. So it is quite a lengthy pit lane, irrespective of which category you're in. And with the amount of cars that you can have in a GT3 field, normally it will be on the right-hand side of the hill, which is where they'll normally stop the cars.
I was just going to say, I believe that's it, isn't it, Alex? It's because of the amount of pit boxes they need for the GT3s, so that's why they run that section of the pits. But yeah, we ask the question every single time you enter the pits and you're driving all the way down that pit lane. It's a hell of a pit lane to have to drive down, and it's very frustrating.
Oh, Pinchbeck's made the move on Crossman.
He has.
He's managed. Now, I'm wondering, he must have gotten a better run coming through Padillon and got a good run on Crossman. Hey, no problem, Manel Elias. Happy to be able to educate. Because that's one of the three main things about commentary. You've got to educate along with entertaining at the same time as well. So, but that was a great move from Chris Pinchbeck. I think he just knew that after a certain amount of time, he would have an opportunity to get past Chris Crossman. And what this does actually help Chris Pinchbeck in this respect now, Steve, is that he does have a little bit of clean air ahead of him, doesn't he?
He does, and I think now obviously the roles are reversed. Where I was saying a few minutes ago that Chris Pinchbeck needed to pit.
Oh, Hedges in the pits. Hedges in the pits with 26 minutes and 18 to go on the clock.
Yeah, that's going to show us where Dave is in relation to these two guys as well. But I think Chris needs to just keep the hammer down now and keep going. And I think it's on Chris Crossman to pit and see if he can force Pinchbeck into a pit stop to keep him close. Because as we can see, Pinchbeck's now sort of pulling a gap on Crossman and just stretching the gap a little bit.
Yeah, so in many respects, it was going to always be a case.
Nope, they're both staying out. They're both staying out again.
Again, they keep us guessing. They keep us guessing. This is... I don't know what to say, really. I've been talking all day anyway. 15 races and now a 2-hour enduro. Oh, mamma mia. Well, at least we're not...
They say practice makes perfect, mate, so keep going.
Speak for yourself, then.
Yeah, can you throw a few races my way so I can get some more practice?
Well, you'd have to travel down south for that, mate. Considering where you're located.
I'm not sure I could go that far. I'd probably pass out.
Oh, dearie me. Think how I feel when I have to fly overseas.
Do they still take pound notes down south?
No, you might be lucky if you go out to Scotland. Well, hey, I'm being honest there. I'm being honest, and you just had to throw that ooh in there, didn't you?
Mate, I'm not even going to reply now. That's it.
That's okay. We'll agree to disagree then, Steve, as we normally do.
Absolutely. Mate. Dave Hedges is exiting the pits now, so let's just see where on the timing screen where he pops into the equation. 5th place is that?
Yeah.
So
that's not actually no, it's 6th place. So he'll be behind James Hartnell.
There, yep, it's just dropped down now, yeah.
So I think that's a pretty good call there from Dave. He'll have a fresh set of rubber. Also, one of the other things that he'll have going for him is that if he's refueled, he doesn't need to put fuel all the way through. He just needs to put enough to cover that eventuality of lack of, not getting to the finish line because you haven't fueled up enough. And we have seen that before, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. It's very easy to make that mistake, and maybe just try and cut it a little bit too fine and literally run out a lap before the end, or even a couple of corners before the end, which is very disappointing. But interestingly, Dave is showing us round about sort of 4.5 seconds behind James, so certainly an incentive to chase hard. And Regan Mitchell, who had cleared all his pit stops very early on, he's now moved up into 7th place. 11 seconds behind Dave, so that's a good solid position for Regan there, and I'm not so sure he won't make up another 1 or 2 when the pit stops are all finished.
Yeah, so we still have 6 drivers still to pit with 22 minutes and 57 seconds to go as Crossman, following Pinchbeck, through Eau Rouge and Radiant down the Camel Straight. These two still have yet to make their final mandatory pit stop, as have and it's the same for Ranjiv Kalsi in 8th, Adam Isalovic in 14th, with Archie Clifford Roberts and Dean Riley, the other two drivers, still yet to pit. And
interestingly, Chris Pinchbeck, as we're seeing on the screen, isn't managing to put any time between himself and Chris Grossman, which I thought he might do, but no. Their stations holding and the gap's staying the same. Chris Grossman's doing very well to hang on to him, so it's going to be the pit stop strategy that wins that position, I think.
Yeah, and it's about who decides. Do the drivers go full power in Eau Rouge or lift the throttle slightly? Oh, Clifford Roberts, as I'd just say that, reference the question from Manel Elias, now jumps into the pits with just under 22 minutes remaining. So Archie Clifford Roberts, again, his strategy calls in these endurance races have been nigh on impeccable, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, you match up the strategy calls with the absolute outright pace that the lad's got, then he's a difficult man to beat. And as I said earlier, the only man that's really come close this season was Kev Critchley, who unfortunately isn't able to race with us at every round. But I'm hoping he will be back before the end of the season just to give us another sort of battle with Archie. Because it's great to see, when the strategies really come into play and you get two drivers like that are incredibly quick having a good battle.
Well, Manel Elias, in order to answer your question, well, if they're going through at 5th gear at 250 kilometers an hour, they're literally, the throttle is being kept where it's meant to be kept, so they're effectively going nigh on full throttle through Eau Rouge, and it depends on the conditions as well. So you can see that the daytime's starting to come back as the local time hits nearly 5 o'clock here at Stavelot in Belgium for the 7th round of Simsport Racing ACC Season 3 GT3, as there is Joao Diaz. Gianluca De Luca has got a penalty for the track limit, so that'll be a drive-through for the 135 Aston Martin. But yes, you're spot on, Chris Crossman, because effectively now we are now effectively what's going to be called happy hour, or happy 20 minutes if you want to call it that, because as the sunlight starts beaming down back on Spa-Francorchamps, the tyres will then start getting some residual heat back in. Oh, but that's a run wide from Chris Crossman, a mistake that we don't characteristically see from the number 3 that often.
Yeah, just talking about track temps as well, it is starting to go up now. It dropped to a low of 9 degrees, it's now back up to 10, so it's going to start creeping up very slowly. Not big differences, but it is going up slowly, so things should stabilise a bit for the lads.
So we're getting closer and closer to the end of the race here, and it's now down to, out of these two, who will blink first, because still five cars still to pit. The two on your screens at home. Chris Pinchbeck. Interesting question here, Steve. I don't know if you might be able to shed some light on this. Cameron Fife has actually asked me, what's the loss of time with a perfect pit stop? I think it was around about a 30-second pit stop, you say, wasn't it?
Well, it depends. If you take in tyres in a pit stop, the tyre change takes 30 seconds. So that's not including the drive in and drive out of the pits. I did say earlier, I can't remember, ashamedly, exactly how long the pit stop takes at Spa, but I think you'd be looking at a good 20 to 30 seconds driving time, so you're probably looking at about 50 seconds roughly in pit and out. But that also depends on you hitting your pit box perfect, because if you don't, it slows the pit stop down while the mechanics move the car into the correct position. But I was just looking at the timing sheets, and we've seen Chris Pinchbeck and Chris Grossman racing closely now for a number of laps. Just to bring the viewers' attention to the best lap times, Chris Pinchbeck's best lap is a 2:18.432. Chris Grossman's is a 2:18.477. Chris Pinchbeck's last lap was a 2:19.719. Chris Crossman's was a 2:19.770. So they're just literally locked together on the times. Two different cars, two different drivers, but absolutely matched for pace.
Yeah, Kieran Vidago says, yes, boys, looks like it's a good race. I think he agrees with you with regards to the pit stop, saying, yeah, I think it was 50 seconds lost, looking at the time that Archie Clifford Roberts lost, and agrees with the fact that they are smashing time. So, yeah, I mean, with 17 minutes and 20 seconds still to go, it is, with the amount of time. Now, I think this could be the battle, possibly, when you look at it from this perspective. You still got 3 of the top 5 still to pit. So you got Chris Pinchbeck, Chris Crossman, and then Dean Riley. And Dean Riley has yet to serve his second mandatory pit stop. And
Yes.
when you look at it from, it also depends on how much fuel they've got in the cars. So if let's say they need to put in enough whilst they're putting the fuel in, putting the tyres on whilst the fuel's been putting on board, they'll have to put less fuel in, which means that they can run harder and they can go faster as well, which means that they could battle for the latter part of the top 5.
Yeah, anything is possible. I mean, I think that I'm not sure about Chris Crossman, but I think Chris Pinchbeck will have fueled literally to do all but the last lap. He will literally, when he comes into fuel up, he will literally be just putting a litre or 2 in at maximum. To put 1 litre of fuel in is 3 seconds in the pits. So that's what they're aiming for, is the least amount of time stopped. So he will be. I think he'll put a litre in.
So a splash and dash on the cards then, effectively.
Absolutely. It's just 2 hours of racing at Spa, and they're still absolutely flat out through Eau Rouge and Radion. Absolutely amazing. And I'm going to risk it. Touch wood. Have we seen any serious incidents through Eau Rouge yet?
No.
Great. I've said it now.
And we still have just under 15.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, sorry guys.
You could have left it another 14 minutes and changed there, Steve, but no, you just had to, didn't you?
Well, I know how hard these guys have been practicing, so they're all very, very competent and very capable drivers. So I don't expect to see any, but let's move on.
Yes, moving swiftly on, as they would say. 15 minutes to go. And Chris Pinchbeck and Chris Crossman now on lap number 45 of this, what's been a very, very interesting strategic 2 hours of Spa-Francorchamps here in the Ardennes Forest in the Stavelot region. And one of my local commentary haunts is Karting Genk, which is just around about 90 kilometres north of this very circuit. And one of the things that you know what? I'm going to say this. The weather has been, there's been warmth and there's been cold. There's been none of that microclimatic, sudden downpour of rain or thunder showers as we normally see at Spa, which has been a refreshing change, let's say.
Yeah, we were sort of discussing the weather, shall we say, on the server last night when some of the lads did a 2-hour practice race last night just to see how the temperatures changed, and we always set the weather up with the same percentage chance of rain, but obviously with a 2-hour race it's spread over a longer period of time, and that was the biggest fear. And I know Archie was very vocal in saying he did not want rain at all under no circumstances. So there was a little bit of a few of us were sort of thinking, hope there's a shower, hope there's a little bit, just to spice things up. No malice meant, no hardship,
No.
just to spice it up a little bit. But yeah, it's been dry, it's been good conditions for the guys. A little cloudy at the moment, that'll keep the temperatures down a little bit longer, but it's still 5:42 AM on the server, and it's 11 degrees on the track temp at the moment, so all good.
Indeed. So there is Dave Hedges, still rounding out the top 6 positions, 2.3 seconds behind James Hartnell, as some drivers just making their way down through the Kemmel Straight. It looks like Peter Hrobar just off in the distance in the number 32 Audi. But still, we've not seen anyone blink in the top, well, three of the top 4 positions, and that includes Pinchbeck and Crossman. I think you're right, Steve. I think they're leaving it until the dying moments of the race to make sure they get their opportunity to put one up on the other.
Absolutely, yeah. That they're just racing against each other now because they know that is the battle for position that they're in. I'll just take you back to a couple of rounds ago at Monza when James Hartnell took the victory. And in the interview, you said to him about taking the battle to Archie, and he sort of said he was well planted. He was planted, and he knew where his battle lies, and maybe it wasn't up at the front. But if he brings it home in second place tonight, which at the moment he's looking like doing, that's really going to cement his place at second in the championship as we stand, and he's the only one taking the battle anywhere near Archie. So he's absolutely outstanding from James. He's really he's doing himself justice.
Yeah, very much the case. As Dave Hedges, I think that's Gianluca De Luca in the Aston Martin just behind, in the fantastic R Motorsport colours. So getting into the last 11 or so minutes of this race, and Hedges, I think, is just, I mean, look at it from this perspective, because we were talking, obviously Kieran Vidago made a very good point of this as well, but with the pit stops that Pinchbeck and Crossman do. Now, this is a question I really need to ask. On Assetto Corsa Competizione, when you pit, are you able to refuel and put tyres on at the same time, or do you have to do it one after the other?
No, you do it at the same time. That's why if you just take fuel, it's dependent upon how much fuel you take. But it takes, if you take in tyres, it's 30 seconds to swap the tyres, but the fuel is quicker, so they refuel it while you're putting tyres on.
Okay, that answers my question completely there, Steve. So that makes a lot more sense, and also I can use that for future reference. Now, Ranjiv Kalsi is now making it now Chris Bowman, I think, just went off the track. So Ranjiv Kalsi now is pitting in the number 47 Rinaldi Racing Ferrari 488. So Chris Bowman, I think, just had a little bit of an off-track excursion there.
Looking, we've got Adam Azalovic still to pit as well, further down the field. And then, as you say, it's just Dean Riley, Chris Crossman and Chris Pinchbeck. That
is the $64,000 question. Who's going to pit first between the two out front at the moment? Because initially, that will drop them as... right, Crossman has still kept going. Where is Pinchbeck? Pinchbeck is up ahead.
He's there, yeah, he's on the track.
So these two, if I'm honest, are really, really they're still keeping us guessing, big time keeping us guessing on how they're now going to proceed through the last 9 minutes of the race as the two leaders make their way down.
I'm just adding up the time gaps to see if Crossman and Pinchbeck will come out behind Regan Mitchell. That will be awesome for Regan Mitchell if they do, because obviously that's 2 positions he's going up from 7th place, and he's run the most extreme strategy, I would say, to anyone else, because he got his first pit stop done really early, if you remember, and then came in on the hour, so he's been out there sort of 52 minutes now since he last pitted. 7th and potentially looking at going up to 5th.
Daniel Parker says, I'm curious to see if Pinchbeck and Crossman will pit before Clifford Roberts catches them both. Well, That's a very interesting proposition there, Daniel Parker, because considering the fact that Archie Clifford Roberts is only 6.2 seconds behind Chris Crossman. That is a really that's a good question, well presented, but I don't really have the answer for you right now, Daniel.
Well, I'm going to stick my neck on the chopping block and say no, I don't think there will, because when Archie pitted, which was quite a few laps ago, he was 8 seconds behind, well, just under 9 seconds behind these two guys. So to be only 6 now, he's, well, 5.5 it is now. He's not really sort of closed up that much, shall we say? I think they're safe. I think he'll catch Dean Riley, maybe catch. Yeah, I think he'll get within a few seconds, but he's not going to catch him. I don't think they're going to cause him any problems.
Kieran Vidago now throws his hat into the ring and goes, I think they'll pit before he gets there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, he's just taken 9/10 out of Chris Crossman on that last lap.
Oh, Kieran's a wise man. He's agreeing with me. It's fine. But yeah, Dave Hedges is really putting the hammer down as well now, isn't he? He's trying to sort of close up onto the back of James, and he is keeping the pressure on. It has to be said, he's 1.3 seconds behind, so not over until the checkered flag is waved.
Yeah, and still with 6 minutes and 20 seconds still on the clock. Adam Isalovich in 14th, still yet to pit. Still it's Dean Riley in the number 2 Tempesta Racing Ferrari that still has to pit as well as Chris Pinchbeck and Chris Crossman. And quite a good battle between Ranjiv Kalsi and Mark Neutelings. The pair covered by just under 0.6 of a second, as Hedges looks to be closing on Hartnell. And I've got a feeling this is going to be the battle for what will effectively be second in the race itself, because then when you look at Pinchbeck, Crossman and Riley, they are going to drop behind. Riley's going to drop behind these two. Pinchbeck and Crossman will drop behind Clifford Roberts, and possibly more than likely James Hartnell, even Dave Hedges, because the way things are going, the gap now is extending between Chris Pinchbeck and Chris Crossman to nearly 1.3 seconds here, Steve, as we fast approach the last 5 minutes. It's still too close to call. I really cannot tell who is going to win this race. Well, who's going to win this race? It looks like Archie Clifford Roberts and Tim Fulbrook's getting ready for the Chris 1-2. Well, I think, Tim, you might be counting your chickens before they hatch on that one.
Yeah, Dave Hedges is lapping significantly faster than James Hartnell.
Oh, Pinchbeck's in, and Crossman, they both blinked at the same time. So Clifford Roberts now takes the lead. Well, that was a certainty anyway. Sorry to cut across you there, Steve.
No, it's okay. I was just assessing. I mean, Dave Hedges he's within half a second of James Hartnell now, so that's the battle to watch, because obviously Dean Riley's going to pit. The other two have gone in the pits. Dean Riley's gone in the pits as well now, so that's all three of those guys in.
Hedges nearly got past Hartnell there. So Riley's pitted as well, and then Tim Fulbrook's just responded, I didn't realise they had to stop. Oh. Obviously, you've not been watching the stream fully, have you, Tim? You're coming a bit lastminute.com there. So now there is Pinchbeck, there is Crossman. So Hartnell and Hedges will go past. Now the battle for second place really, really begins as the early morning sunrise and the sunshine starts to filter over the main buildings here at Spa-Francorchamps.
And sorry to interrupt, but Regan Mitchell is just going down the start finish, heading into Eau Rouge, so it's going to be very close between him and Pinchbeck and Crossman as well.
So looks very, very interesting as to who is going to get the upper hand between Hartnell and Hedges. They now head down through the dip, down towards the hill, through into Bruxelles, then into turn 11. Before they then head to Rouen,
Yeah, Mitchell's got 4th place. Mitchell's in 4th with Pinchbeck, I believe, literally right behind him.
Well, Regan Mitchell has definitely come up trumps in this one in terms of using a strategy. But look at the run that Dave Hedges has got on James Hartnell as they head down towards the far part of the circuit through the double left through Pouhon. Hedges had an absolutely brilliant turn of momentum, as now they're going to have the long acceleration phase very, very shortly as they go through Campus and Lifagne, and then Campus and then into Stavelot, before then making the run down towards Blanchimont, which is going to be incredibly committed from the pair of them. So Archie Clifford Roberts, I'm just wondering how far ahead he is at the moment of these two battling away. What's the gap between Archie and James at the moment, Steve?
Archie and James, it's not giving us a time because Archie's just gone over he's onto the next lap, but just bear with me 1 second. That James will cross the finish line in a second. He's about 33 seconds behind.
So after this, we will have one more lap to go then, effectively. Well, no, if we're running in the two... No, because if it was 30 seconds, so we're effectively... I think we're on the final lap. So Archie Clifford Roberts is on the 51st and final lap of this 2-hour race here at Spa. But Hedges not giving up.
Caution to the wind comes to mind there.
That was more... yeah, that was definitely... throw a curveball and see what happens. So Dave Hedges now Hedges has got a drive through for a track cut. He cut the track through Radion. He gets a drive through. That's a post race penalty.
That's going to give Mitchell the podium, 3rd place.
Oh no! I thought that was a bit close.
The way he went at that, I thought Dave must have known that he basically had a cut or two in the bag, as it were. But obviously, he was on his last warning.
Yeah. Oh. Right at the dying few moments. That is a real disaster for Dave Hedges on what is effectively the final lap of the race. But let's see if we can catch up. Well, there's Chris Crossman still in 6th behind Chris Pinchbeck, who's just up the road about 1.3 seconds. There is Archie Clifford Roberts, and now he heads to the bus stop chicane. Oh, this is going to be tight.
He's going to make him do another lap, you know.
No, it's gone to 0. Time's gone to 0. Checkered flag. Now that is lucky. That is lucky for Archie Clifford Roberts. That is really, really lucky. But in some respects, I think Dave Hedges will be happy to see the checkered flag, but not be happy about the drive-through, what will be effectively a 30-second post-race penalty for that track cut. And yeah, that gives Regan Mitchell the final step on the rostrum. But James Hartnell, Dave Hedges will serve his drive-through on the final lap. Adam Isailovic also gets a 130-second penalty post-race. Now, what was that for? That was for missing a pit stop, wasn't it? Did he miss a pit stop?
Yes. He potentially did, yes.
And Dave Hedges has just had 80 seconds added to his race time. Oh no, it gets from bad to worse.
Yeah, you can't serve a drive-through on the last lap because obviously you can't complete it. So it was a bit futile of Dave to drive into the pits there, to be fair. But...
Oh, now where does that put him? I think that puts him behind Pinchbeck and Crossman, doesn't it? Maybe.
Yes, it will do. Yes.
Yeah.
But definitely Regan Mitchell, well done to Regan. He was the one that went with a totally different strategy to everyone, and he's ended up 3rd on the podium. Well done to James Hartnell, bringing that home in 2nd place, and obviously a massive well done to Archie in 1st.
I am speechless.
That's a first.
I really am. I really am. You know what I'm going to do is this time around, it's been a busy day. I'm going to let Mr. Proudly do the interviews this time around. But, I mean, Steve, just looking back at that race, we had everything. We had really, really good racing all the way through the 2 hours. We did have a couple of incidents where the stewards will be looking into it. But then, to see Dave Hedges throw absolute caution to the wind through Eau Rouge and Redion, trying to catch James Hartnell, and it completely backfires. It's like a firework was set off in his face, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a do or die. We both had a sharp intake of breath when he threw it up there, and the first thing that came to my mind was track cut. But knowing Dave, I thought, now he must have one in the bag. He must know he's going to get away with that. But obviously not. He just went for it, and he took the gamble, and it didn't pay off, unfortunately. But I mean, what else was he going to do on the last lap? He was after that place, and potentially he needed to send it full gun through there, which is what he did. So respect to the guy for trying.
Yeah.
Good try, good effort.
Well, firstly, I have to say a big thank you to Mike Yao from Simply Race, but epic coverage all the way through. Apologies, obviously, with the stream lag a bit earlier on due to some technical difficulties. Steve Hinden goes, well done, Archie, as ever. Mr. Faultless, great race. Super Regan, good race by James as well. So, 3 drivers looking very, very good at the top of the standings, but we have to give Simply Race and Mike Yao a big shout out here, because he does a fantastic job every single time we go racing, whether it's GT3 or GT4. So, Steve, I'll hand things over to you down in the interview booth with a couple of drivers that I think you need to speak to.
Thank you very much. I'll pop down there now. Good evening, gents, and just wanted to say great racing there. If I can come to Chris Crossman first. Well done, Chris.
Cheers, buddy. It was pretty hard, to be fair.
That was some absolutely epic racing between yourself and Mr. Pinchbeck. We were running a sweepstake on when you were actually going to pit. Did it go to plan, or were you just waiting? Was it a case of see who blinks first?
Well, I wasn't sure, because obviously there's a couple of strategies, and when certain people started to pit after 1/3 of the race, I thought, great, they're going to do 1/3, 2/3, probably change tyres. So I thought I might get a few positions, but obviously I was battling with Pinchy, and it was an epic battle. The first time he went in the pits, I think I done it 1 or 2 laps before him. So I've got my tyres up to pressure, and he came out, and I managed to overtake him, and I was holding him up. It was epic battling, but he was way faster than me. But then obviously on the second time, he went in the pits the same time as me. Basically just came out, and he just went away, and I knew that was it. I was hoping that he might have had to put a little bit of fuel in, because I literally just had the 1 litre. But yeah, he was very fast in there as well, mate. So as soon as he went out, I knew that was it. But yeah, it was epic battling between me and him for the whole race. He was a little bit faster, like I say, but I was holding him up. But when I got in front, I was just trying to be really defensive.
It was absolutely fantastic to watch, and if you get a chance to watch the stream back, you certainly got more than your 5 minutes of fame in that coverage, because it was awesome to watch. Thanks very much, Chris, and well done, Mr. Pinchbeck. I'll come to you, and you can follow on from Mr. Crossman there. Just saying, absolutely epic racing. And I was saying to Alex and the guys watching the stream, Mr. Pinchbeck, I'll put a Yorkshire pound on the fact that he pits as late as possible. And I wasn't far wrong. And was that the plan all the way along?
Yeah, it was, mate. It was, to be honest. I thought that's what Archie was going to do right from the very beginning, because we were on last night, and he totally changed his tactics on everyone.
I was confused at that as well. Yeah, threw me when I seen him go in early.
No, it was great racing, guys, and the respect between you guys racing so closely together and so quickly was absolutely awesome to watch. Made some fantastic viewing for everyone at home.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you very much, Chris Crossman. That was awesome, mate.
You too, buddy. Well done.
Now, well done, guys. Now, Dave Hedges, if I can come to you next. Good effort, mate. Sent it through Eau Rouge. Myself and Alex on the stream, if you get a chance to watch it back, you'll hear a sharp intake of breath from both of us as you cut the track, and we saw it was a track cut. And I was just saying to Alex, in the back of my mind, I thought, he's got a cut in the bank, as it were. He's not going to get a penalty for this. Then we saw the drive-through come up, but yeah, some awesome driving, Dave, and all the way through that race, it was difficult to see where everyone was going to be. But did it go to plan? Was there anything that threw up for you? Or
To be honest, strategy was thrown a little bit, because I obviously trying to stay ahead of James at the start there, and probably would have been a lot easier for me for the rest of the race. But so I changed my fuel stops a little bit. Obviously went long, then just sort of went 50-50. But I actually put in a full half race worth of fuel as well on my last stop. So that was a big mistake. I had over 50 litres too much, which didn't help. And I got my last track cut my third warning with 4 minutes to go. And obviously it's really difficult when you're right up behind somebody. And I actually thought I might have got away with it, because I was going sideways up through Radion, but obviously not.
No, we did. I mean, we did say, fair play to you, mate. It was the last lap. What else were you going to do? It was an option that you had to really get the run up there and really stick it to him down the Camel Straight. But good effort and really unlucky. But good race all round, and onwards and upwards, as it were, to the next round.
Absolutely.
Regan, over to you, mate. You had a very different strategy to everybody else. You pitted very early in the race, and we saw you drop right down the leaderboard. But then, slowly but surely, as everyone else had to pit, you made your way back up, and here you are on the podium, mate. So well done. Was that the plan?
Was that actually a P3?
I believe you were P3. Yeah.
Yeah, it said P4 on the thing. It didn't apply Dave's penalty.
Yeah, well, post penalty, you will be P3.
Nice. Yeah, I had to pit. I did my 1 litre of fuel pit early because I was stuck behind the Porsche. I was getting really annoyed, so I pit early and then pitted halfway as well, and just went the whole last half of the race from a full tank on one set of tyres. It worked very well.
Yeah, well done, mate. I mean, as ever, you just kept your head down, you kept it consistent, and you kept going. So credit to you, and it just goes to show, you don't have to follow the crowd when it comes to the track.
No, just like being behind people, I realised. So I needed clean air to go fast. So that's what I did.
Well done, mate. And as I say, it was great to watch, and it was good racing. So well done. James Hartnell, the man who knows his place and where he needs to be. After the interview at Monza, said that he probably wasn't going to be going for the win, and he had some good rounds, some bad rounds. You certainly had a good round tonight, mate.
Yeah, it was all right. It wasn't bad at all.
Some good, solid driving, buddy. Did it all go to plan? Was there anything that threw you off course a little bit, or was that pretty much how you expected it?
I tried. Yeah, I mean, it was always going to try and work out whether it was going to do the splash and dash thing, because the Ferrari's pretty good on tyres, but every which way I looked at it, I couldn't work out how to. It ended up being, an equal three-way split was the best thing. But I could, coming up, I think with Dave, I could tell he was heavy. I really had to be quite aggressive to get past him early doors, otherwise he was going to hold me up a wee bit. And then, the racing with everybody was just fantastic. And then I'll be very honest, I was so pleased I got in front of Lucas after the first pit stop. That was the key to the whole race, to be honest, because Lucas is really hard to get past, and I did that in the pits, and I was really lucky.
Yeah, I was going to bring Lucas up, to be fair. In the first sort of stint, it seemed like he had the measure and he was going to run off after Archie, albeit a few seconds behind Archie, but he certainly managed to put a bit of a gap on you. But you seem to find your rhythm, and you close that gap down towards the pit stop stage, and then, like you say, you managed to jump him in the pits, which was excellent and the key to your race.
Yeah, very much so.
So yeah, well done. I think that's well done to everybody. The racing did look phenomenal tonight. It was really close. There was a lot of respect throughout the field, and just well done. And thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks, mate. Cheers,
Thanks
Steve.
a lot, guys.
So Alex, very happy drivers there. Everybody keen to be interviewed tonight.
Yes, they were lining up in their droves, my good man. But
that's because they heard I was doing the questioning. You see, just blocked there like sheep.
Oh well, you might have to do that in future, compadre. I think.
No, no problem, mate.
But what a 2-hour race here at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. So Archie Clifford Roberts, Steve, continues to exert his dominance on Season 3 GT3, and then in just a couple of weeks' time, on the 27th of September, we head to WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca for round 8, a 1-hour full throttle extravaganza. No mandatory pit stops. It's going to be all for themselves in California. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker. Wouldn't you agree?
I think it will be, and I'm sure the lads will be on the server tomorrow evening, if not tonight, putting some practice in for that one, because it's likes to flag racing, like you say, no pit stops and everything to play for. That the midfield's really, I say the midfield, second place down is really it's tight, and every point counts, and the places are still to battle for. And you heard those guys in the interviews tonight. You know, they really enjoyed that, and they're keen for more, and they want more, and they want more points.
Well, that concludes the action this evening for round 7 of Simsport Racing ACC Season 3 GT3. Join myself and Steve for round 2 of Assetto Corsa Competizione GT4 Season 2 this coming Wednesday, as we head to the Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona, for a 45-minute reverse grid GT4 race. That's going to be really interesting indeed. Steve, thanks very much again for joining me in the virtual commentary box, this time in our double header here for GT3 Season 3 in Belgium. Looking forward to working alongside you once again at Barcelona in just a couple of days' time.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Alex, as well, mate. I know you've had a really busy day, and it was touch and go whether you got back in time tonight, but thank you for all your efforts and making it as exciting and as you do. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much to you all, those Simsport Racing faithful viewers. And those that want to join us, head to simsport-racing.com for further information on how you can join us, race with us, but also be part of the community. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. We wish you all a pleasant remainder of your Sunday evening. And above all, stay safe, stay healthy. And here's a preview of what's coming up for round 8 very soon. Good night.